75 years old, and I still wake up with a little guy saluting me.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy.
Come on, let's wake up.
Gotta wake up.
Are you sure you want to wake up to this?
Come on now, wake up.
I can't wait to wake up.
Wake up, idiot.
Well, two things that I will miss. And one, Andy Sweeney, I don't know if you agree with me on both or either, but
all right, let's go.
Let's
hear
to
them.
you. I will miss two things here in the upcoming, 72 hours. I will miss coming up to Colts training camp. Here we are in Westfield. This is it. This is our final show from Colts training camp. I know my commute is a little bit shorter than yours, but I will miss this. It's a nice change of pace. I enjoy getting out of the studio. And it's fun. I think being out here, we get great access to players, and we're able to provide those interviews for you. So I will miss that, and I will really miss the Olympics.
I knew you were going to say that, dude. I'm totally with you. I was fist pumping in the man cave yesterday at 4:45 p.m. because of the Olympics.
I am clapping for Joel Embiid. I'm yelling at Embiid at the same time. One moment I'm saying if the Bowens have a third, it'll be named Joel. The other minute I'm saying, grab a damn rebound, Joel. That is where I was at yesterday in the waning minutes of that one. Again, I am one that tries to pride myself in not speaking in hyperbole. I think that's a basketball game I'm going to remember for a long time.
It's funny. Kevin Durant says that's one of the best games I've ever been a part of. I mean, he says that after the game, and he's obviously, been a part of big-time games, NBA Finals games. Hell, he even played one time in the NCAA tournament. Wasn't he a one-and-done in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken? I mean, listen, I'm with you, man. It is, and it's perfect for us. It's the best morning we've had. And Westfield is today. It's cool, but it's not too cool, so you're not worried about sweating like poor Jake and Jimmy did or like we did last week. Look at this, Jack. If you look, you have Kevin Bowen getting ready to break down the Colts and Team USA, and behind him you see the sun coming up over the barn. Who's got it better than us on this Friday afternoon? But Team USA, dude, what a moment. Just what an absolute ridiculous moment that we got last night or yesterday afternoon. It felt like everyone I knew was watching that stupid game.
It was incredible. Steph Curry was the definition of that. And the old dudes. I mean, LeBron, Durant, you and I debated before the Olympics start, who would you go to late?
We knew who it was.
Melo is barking out orders from his front row seat there, and it was Kevin Durant putting that game on ice. And Steph Curry's first ever Olympics. And, for him to have one of the greatest games, frankly, in Olympic history, second most points ever in American Olympic history, and then LeBron, just your casual triple-double in 40 minutes of basketball for him. So the U.S., again, in one of the crazier games you'll see, they advance tomorrow, I would say. If Cameron Indoor and Allen Fieldhouse had a baby, I think that's what the environment tomorrow will be like.
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about them. This was the game you had to worry about. The Serbians played possum on us.
The Serbians were, and that's the thing, by the way, good Friday morning to everybody out there. Thank you for spending it with us. We are live here at Grand Park.
Well, Matt Taylor at 9 o'clock.
10 a.m. today. Final morning practice of camp. 2 more joint sessions next week, and then that will be the book closing on this 2024 camp at Grand Park. When I think back to, big NCAA tournament upsets, and, it's a shame that, you have to bring up Purdue after the year they just had. But, when I think of Purdue Fairleigh Dickinson, I think of largely Purdue peeing down their leg. When I think of Virginia UMBC, I think of UMBC making every shot they looked at.
Blowing them out. I mean, the game wasn't close.
Serbia made everything. There was no fear. I swear the lefty just hit 3 more threes.
Well,
Bogdanovich,
I have a problem we'll get to here in a second, but continue.
Bogdanovich is running his mouth like no other. I mean, he could have, if they finished that off,
he would have talked so much junk.
Has that for the rest of his life in the NBA.
I know.
Again, he's a nice NBA player.
Well, that's why they collapsed. I mean, that's why the Serbian players were in tears after the game. They knew what that meant.
I mean, they
led the whole game.
unbelievably. The shot making in the first 5-7 minutes of that game for the U.S., frankly, it was all Steph Curry, but everybody for Serbia. That, to me, I think just kind of adds to it. This was not like Germany and France played the first semifinal yesterday. For anybody that watched that,
it's a good game.
That was a clunker, though. I mean, that was like
low-scoring game, right?
That was a rock fight.
Yeah, no one could make a shot.
This was not that, the Serbia in the United States at all. So, yeah, I think over in Europe they often do you kind of go over and you clap to your fans.
You have to clap to your fans like that.
After the
It's a
game.
soccer clap.
I will say, I will
Jimmy
clap
Cook.
to Serbia for that.
You're giving them a tip of the hat today.
I mean, they were really, really good.
We have a lot of Team USA stuff. I got the old Ryder Cup hat.
I was going to
from
say,
what's
is that a Valhalla Ryder Cup hat?
You're damn right it is. So I have a Ryder Cup hat, and what do you have? You have team. Now, is that a soccer polo? Is that technically what it is? I mean, you wear that when you go soccer stuff, right?
Well,
like a July 4th barbecue?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's probably more so. I can't say I've been to many soccer matches where I've rocked this.
Think about this, though, and this is always the thing with our basketball teams, especially this team, is they're staring national embarrassment in the face. Like, yes, they're up against Serbia. Or whoever they face, France coming up over the weekend. Yes, they're up against them, but they're also up against total failure. We have had, and I know it's been like a popular thing, that it's like, why can't we honor silver medals as much? We had this thing in the country, if you don't win gold, we can look at it a little bit skewed, if you will, and we'll look at it wrong. But unfortunately, that was going to be the analysis if we lost that game last night. And we had to go to the old guys, Steph Curry, LeBron, fantastic. Kevin Durant was a bum for 3 quarters. He hit the big shot. He said, get out of the way. He said, clear it out at the end. I'm going to be Kevin Durant. And a big shout out. Here's the only thing I had a problem with. Derek White was terrible. And I'm not even totally making that something because Tyrese Halliburton has been benched because of the arrival of Derek White. But the other guys were not very good
Anthony
in
Edwards,
this game.
I thought, was very poor.
He was a mess. And I
thought they might go to Tatum for Edwards.
Listen, I thought defensively, Serbia, as the game went, yes, they made shots, but there were a lot of wide open looks. I mean, that lefty dude had all day, to shoot threes at times. Not every shot was that way, but and then finally, you mentioned Embiid. I mean, you're screaming. I mean, Embiid will do something so damn great, then he'll kick the ball off his leg the next time down. Dude, he was fantastic last night. He had 19 points.
He was. His quotes this morning are already absolutely through the roof. Just safe to say the Boo Birds will be alive and well tomorrow for Joel Embiid. He goes, they're going to boo me. I'm going to go back at them and tell them to suck it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the radio, but I guess I just did.
Well, Mark, did you see the game? After the game, Embiid was doing the DX chop to everybody at half court.
DX chop.
While he was like salsa dancing. It was one of the funniest things I've seen walking off the court.
He's a true American. He's doing the DX chant.
Does
that translate internationally, the DX chop? I assume it does.
I think it's universal. I think it's like the middle finger. And Embiid, he probably could save this for maybe after the game is played tomorrow. He goes, it's been a good experience, the Olympics. It's been a grind being away from the family, but the group of guys we have made it easy. Paris is a great city, and the next one is in L.A. It might not be with Team USA. It might be with Cameroon. Nothing like Embiid already saying, him and Pascal Siakam are going to be.
He's already hitting the transfer portal. He hasn't even played in the gold medal game yet.
Leading Cameroon in the 28 Olympics.
How old Siakam going to be? What's he going to be? What's he now?
What's he, 30 right now?
Yeah, so is he 34-ish? Okay.
It is a gorgeous Friday morning, as Andy Sweeney said, much different than what it was like when we were out here on Wednesday. So if you are coming out to Colts camp, say hi to us. Again, gates open at 9 a.m. We are on the northwest part of the fields. Up here at Grand Park, an hour-long practice to, again, close up Colts versus Colts here in training camp before the Cardinals come to town next Wednesday and Thursday. We've debated a lot, preseason playing time for the starters. Again, 1 o'clock on Sunday. As Andy said, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, joined us at 9. Greg Rankstall will have the TV call. He'll be with us at 8 o'clock. Should it be different playing time for the offense versus the defense? If I said the starters are going to play, would you differ on how much the offense needs to be out there versus the defense?
I wouldn't. I got to be honest. And I was even going to ask you, I was like, if I put the over-under at 2.5, would you think that's a good over-under for both the offense and the defense? Now, you mentioned, what was it? 2.5 series, right. Did you – now, last night, we had a couple NFL games, and obviously we got no starters quarterback-wise in either game.
Oh, Maddie was so irate. She goes – wait, is this live?
At which game?
Panthers-Patriots. She goes, is this live? I go, yeah, it's kind of the start of the first big weekend of preseason football.
It's Joe Milton. Come on.
She goes, football's already back.
Oh, boy. It snuck up on her. Well, you've been coming out to camp. You've been covering practice for 3 weeks,
but,
man.
Maybe she was a little get off my lawn. She's used to the old training camps. She's used to, 3 weeks of the training camps. 2 days.
So reality hit her when she was watching.
I'm
trying to think who the quarterback was besides who was the Carolina quarterback? Oh, my guy Jack Plummer.
I was going to say the guy that just stuck the stake in my heart last year with Notre Dame.
Yes, he did.
If she thought I was going nuts for Cole Hawker and Kevin Durant putting the game on ice yesterday, wait till she sees me on the first third down of Notre Dame, Texas A&M here in 3 Saturdays.
Well, the answer to me is probably not. I think you could argue.
What about Shane Steichen?
Well, I think you could argue, hey, with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson, you just had Josh Downs go out with a high ankle sprain. Maybe it's time to protect the offense, but that would be acting like we don't need to protect the defense. Like they're not going to have, their ankle rolled up or have some sort of an injury. So, listen, I think both of them should play a couple series. And like I said, some of the underlying guys, we might get more of A.D. Mitchell as the game goes, Leatu Latu as the game goes. So I'm probably a 2 series. If you told me I need to cut one back, I'll always cut the offense back. Always. Won't you? I mean, that's what we care about.
If you'll cut one back,
if I'm gonna cut a series back,
offense less than defense,
yeah, I probably would.
Ooh, I would flip it the other way.
Just because, I guess I'm worried. I am gun shy over Anthony Richardson last year, and Josh Downs has already went down. Like those two things have scared me. Where if you said, okay, we're gonna lessen a series on offense or defense, which one you choosing? I hate to say it, I'd probably still say offense.
3 series last year for the offense and the opener, 2 for the defense. So, again, we'll see if Shane Steichen provides that answer coming up here after practice.
You think he will?
I think he will.
Okay.
Yeah.
He should.
Pretty much every coach I think has come out and said something to, at least of like what our quarterback is going to do, which certainly you can build a lot around that. I do think something we can get into later today. Is there anybody on the untouchable list? Like, I would think a lot of people say Jonathan Taylor should not play in the preseason. Is anyone else on that list for you? Colt, why? Speaking of Taylor, I did see Frank Gore had quite the statement yesterday on what type of season he feels like Jonathan Taylor could have. He threw up the old 2,000 number.
We have to settle down on that.
In terms of yards.
Don't we?
I think I don't even know if Frank Gore realizes in today's NFL how big of a number that is. You want to talk about someone that obviously has seen a lot of running backs in the NFL. Last year, we had one dude in the entire league over 1,200.
Well, I was about to say, so McCaffrey had a little over 1,500 last year.
I think it was just under,
And then the year before, I think Henry had 1,600. And again, those guys were seen, especially a couple years ago with Derrick Henry, they were seen as taking a lot of reps. Number one, you're going to mix in other guys with Jonathan Taylor. If you told me he missed a game or two, that would not be surprising. Plus, Anthony Richardson's just going to run the football. He's going to eat into that running total. There's no doubt about it. But if you told me, and I don't know, maybe we get closer to the season, if you told me, that Jonathan Taylor, obviously double-digit touchdowns and over 1,400 yards, that would not surprise me. Not at all.
Mark, we are approaching, I believe, here in a few months, the 3-year anniversary of one Jake Query faking COVID, if I'm not mistaken. You remember that?
Man,
yeah.
You guys that's a hot take.
We're
you
a couple
guys can't
months
leave
away,
that. You got to tell me the story.
Hey, that man's in REM sleep. There's no chance. That
I'm not worried about him here, and I'm just saying
back to him.
I need to hear this story.
St. Elmo shrimp eating cocktail contest. Colts Raiders. Does that ring a bell, Mark?
Yeah.
If I remember
correctly.
Yes,
that is correct because the Colts needed to win to get in the playoffs, and They went down their leg in that game as well.
They did, yes, they did. Cold December day, and Mark
Okay.
Dykton had to come out of the bullpen. It was tremendous. He did take the crown from me. I think it was 9-7, 8-6, something like that, in the old shrimp eating cocktail contest. Did Noah Lyles pull a Jake Query? Did he go fake COVID on us yesterday?
Wait, you thought he went fake COVID?
Did he lose and say, you know what, wheelchair me out of here?
What are the COVID? Listen. I'm just asking. What are the COVID rules if he – I mean, I guess he could obviously still race if 2 days ago he tested positive. I asked that because I have no idea what they are anymore.
I'm so bleeping happy that we don't have to know what the COVID rules are.
Brother, I don't want anyone to call in and give us the rules. Can you give
we're
me –
in Hamilton County. Is that different than Marion County?
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be different. Well, what happened with Jake? You want to give me the Jake story?
Well, I mean,
what happened?
Jake said he tested positive, but I think he just faked it.
He didn't want to be out there in December in the cold, in the elements, and then having to down some shrimp cocktail in front of everybody. That was what happened.
So that was going to be at a tailgate then?
Oh, I mean,
It was at a tailgate?
Mark, there were probably 100 people in that tent.
Yeah, and then they recorded it and played it at halftime on the video board in the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Jay didn't want to be a part of it. He got COVID instead. Okay.
Just north of South Street. That's exactly where we were. So, I'm just saying, Noah Lyles, when you get third in the race. By the way, the dude from Botswana, he was booking it in that 200
Well, don't you pull up with a hammy there? Like, my hammy.
Well,
you don't go full COVID, do you? Don't you go hammy?
Hammy's everybody, that's the easy way out. COVID, I think, sounds a little bit more extreme. Other items of note Olympic-wise, U.S. women's basketball, they will take on Australia today in their semifinal. That is Christy Wallace from the Indiana Fever on Australia. She's barely playing for them. And U.S. women's soccer and U.S. women's volleyball. That was a thriller.
It was.
5-set win over Brazil yesterday, so they are back in the gold medal match. So coming up this weekend, you'll get a couple gold medals on the line from a women team standpoint. Again, U.S. women's soccer and then the U.S. women's volleyball team. I believe the men's indoor volleyball team, they'll play for a bronze here later today.
No, they still alive in the entire thing? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they
Good
lost.
for them.
I think they lost in 5 sets to Poland in the semifinal.
Poland? Okay.
Have you watched the men's indoor volleyball and even the women?
It's
violent as
yeah.
hell,
dude. It's violent. I'm scared to death of it. I want no part of it. I got to be honest.
gosh.
If it's not beach volleyball, I feel safer on that one. The 2 versus 2. I want nothing to do with 5-on-5.
The Aroldis Chapman fastballs that they're able to spike down there. One thing to note: yesterday, I did see this announced. A lot of debate, Andy, over the years has been about, from a college basketball standpoint, we kind of had an annual event in Indy of the Crossroads Classic. You had Indiana, you had Purdue, you had Butler, you had Notre Dame.
And then some schools got butthurt over it.
Indiana, Notre Dame for very different reasons, and I strongly disagreed with both of these programs. They bowed out of the Crossroads Classic. Purdue and Butler, they are now back in it. Purdue has done this now for the last couple of years. Butler's going to join them coming up in mid-December. We knew Purdue was playing Texas A&M. That was announced, I think, a couple weeks ago. They will be joined by Wisconsin and Butler. So that is December 14th. Still await tip times and the TV schedule for that. But, yes, I am a fan of that. I don't think Wisconsin is supposed to be, like, typical Wisconsin, but still, I am a fan of this for the non-conference slate. I love that downtown Indianapolis gets to have this. The Colts are on the road that weekend. I think at times you've had that kind of butt up against it, but looks good to me. Purdue's non-conference schedule. Again, it's Alabama at Mackey, at Marquette's. They'll play a tournament out in San Diego.
Texas A&M's going to be a good team.
Combination of BYU, NC State, Ole Miss. Remember, they're going to play Auburn down in Birmingham. We saw that announced. Butler goes to Houston this year in the non-conference. I think that's maybe part of that Big 12, Big East challenge there. So I am a fan of this. You'll get the Indy Classic going here. Again, that'll be December 14th, Purdue and A&M, Butler, Wisconsin at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be that early in the season, but I think Texas A&M is seen as a team that can be a top 25 team.
Sweaty buzz.
Yeah, and then when you talk about Wisconsin, Wisconsin did lose their starting backcourt. So I got to be honest, I'm not sure exactly what Wisconsin's going to have. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. They could be not a tournament
Wayne
team.
Kid transferred, I think, to Nebraska.
They could be a 5, 6, 7 seed, or out of the tournament, or even a little bit better. I'm not exactly sure. So, good stuff all around. Reminder: Greg Rakestraw coming up at 8:00. Voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, coming up at 9:00. Let's take a break. Coming up on your morning check down, an Olympic update, scores from last night. We'll keep it rolling live here in Westfield Grand Park. It's the Wake Up Call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Down. Brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Boy, easily one of the best mornings we've had so far here in Westfield. Weather is glorious. 1 hour practice beginning at 10 a.m. This is the final morning practice of camp, the final Colts versus Colts day of training camp. Again, Sunday is the preseason opener. 2 joint sessions, Wednesday and Thursday at night with the Arizona Cardinals next week. And that is it for Colts training camp. Speaking of Sunday, are there any Colts that should be on that untouchable list that should not play in the game? We'll hit on that here coming up in a bit. For now, though, Andy Sweeney, go ahead and morning checkdown.
Well, I mean, listen, we got to lead with Team USA. I know we'll get into our official Olympic stuff here in just a second, but we have to lead with the basketball. 95-91, Team USA down 11 at half, down by 17 at one point, down double digits going into the fourth quarter. Outscored the Serbians 32-15 in the fourth quarter. Really changed when Joker got his fourth foul in the latter parts. I think they were able to obviously
Durant
start.
Durant 3, then Booker hit the 3. Was that Joker's fourth?
I think it was.
They had the 6-point possession.
I believe it was. So Team USA moves on 95-91. Final call here on NBC. Here's how it sounded.
Micic, 6 seconds left. Micic going to have to hurry. Bogdanovic puts it up. Short. And the United States trailing by as many as 17. Back from underneath the grave. Advance to the gold medal game.
No, I thought that was a great final call. Back from under the grave. That's
By the way,
exactly
I've liked
right.
a lot more of Dwayne Wade the more that I've heard him.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the first game he did was the first, we saw him do his first game, I should say, on a setting like that. A lot of pressure, and I think he's got a lot better. Obviously, Eagles very good as well. Curry, 36 points. Embiid with 19. LeBron, a triple-double. Durant, only 9 points, but hit some big shots down the stretch. Next up, Team USA goes for gold against Victor Wembanyama and France coming up on Saturday.
Again, I said this to start things off. I think that will be a game that we will remember, just frankly. Durant, Steph, LeBron, all 3 of them. France, they have not relied on their big guns just yet. I mean, Gobert's barely playing.
I know.
Evan Fournier is not playing a ton.
I know.
It's guys you really haven't heard of. They do have a lot of NBA talent.
Yes, they do.
But it's guys you haven't heard of. It should be a raucous atmosphere. U.S. 13-point favorite in that one. All right, that music, obviously, we recap what else happened Olympic-wise. How about track and field yesterday? There were 15 medals handed out in track and field yesterday, and we won 8 of them. It has been a dominant performance from the U.S. in track and field. Noah Lyles did not win the 200-meter. U.S. still did take home silver and bronze in that one. Noah Lyles with COVID racing. He wins the bronze medal there. Again, we're starting to get in some of these team finals from a women's standpoint coming up this weekend. Women's soccer, women's volleyball will both go for a gold medal. We'll see if the basketball team can also go for a gold. They'll play in the semifinals against Australia coming up today at 11:30. And then this was kind of going around yesterday. Did you see the state of Indiana, how high up it would rank?
I did see that.
In the medal count.
What was it, 12th? Was it 12?
12 among all nations, right? I think among states it was even higher. If you did the old per capita, Indiana would unquestionably. We have fencers from Notre Dame and we have swimmers from Carmel.
Thank
we got
you,
a cathedral
Carmel.
kid that can run fast and a Brownsburg girl that can cycle fast.
You're damn right. Thank you, Notre Dame. It always goes back to the Fighting Irish.
I was thinking that.
Thank
I'm glad
you,
that you said that. On
so, yeah, a lot of Olympic stuff. Cannot wait for that. Quickly, a couple other things. Major League Baseball, Reds winners 10-4 over the Marlins. They won a 3 out of 4 in that series this week. Tampa over St. Louis 6-4. Indianapolis Indians fall in Nashville 3-1. Did you care about the games last night? Patriots 17-3 over the Panthers. No Bryce Young in that one. I think Drake May just got a series. Joe Milton showed out a little bit.
Can you walk me through the White Sox finally firing their manager? Why now?
I have no idea. And I saw a couple fans.
They won a game.
Thank God. I'm like, thank God. Guys, it doesn't matter at this point, right? It doesn't matter at this point.
60 games under 500 for the firing to occur.
If you win 3 out of 4, does it really matter? I did see that. I don't even know the gentleman's name. I feel terrible.
Pedro something or other.
Was it?
Pedro Grafal. Pedro Grafal.
Thank you, Mark. Mark listening
Is
to
that a
Chicago
coveted
Sports
job?
Talk Radio. I mean, it's one of 30 jobs. I mean, isn't that what everyone says?
I mean, no one with any sort of managerial experience is going to want it unless it's Ozzie Guillen. He's the only one that seems to want it, so I imagine they're going to go.
They're not going to hire La Russa?
They're just going to go back to Ozzie Guillen?
Tony La Russa is still in the front office out there, so they are still not rid of him yet.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man.
God bless the White Sox.
They got to move on at some point. You got to move on.
Sad to see Rondell Moore's season ending, the former Purdue star.
He's just had so many injuries,
Season-ending knee injury with the Falcons.
Injuries.
So, again, got his career started with the Cardinals. And, I think when healthy has shown a flash or two, but injuries have certainly.
I'll say this about Rondell Moore. That class that he was a part of, if Rondell Moore doesn't go to Purdue, right, and is a special player, obviously, Jeff Brom leaves Purdue way earlier to go to Louisville. Purdue, you got a Big Ten championship berth because of it, and did you get a 10-win season? You at least got some 8-9-win seasons. Nick Foles retired, and I hate him. So that's it, Nick Foles.
So
that's the final thing.
You hate him because of obviously the Eagles,
because of that fluke championship that the Eagles got. Otherwise, it's hate. This is hate and venom coming from my mouth right now. Otherwise, the Eagles still would have 0 Super Bowls. And a couple years ago, I lost that joke, and I'm not happy about it. And Nick Foles is the face of that Super Bowl. Congratulations to him, but we will not play any Nick Foles sound this morning because of it.
I'll be honest. I thought to myself,
I saw Nick Foles sound. I'm sure.
When I saw the headline yesterday, I thought, wait, he wasn't already retired?
Well.
Will they go tribute video inside of Lucas Oil Stadium for him on Sunday? Because, it's Colts legend Nick Foles.
Well, I know.
Now, you know his last game.
I mean, his last game, was it Meadowlands
It
laying on the
was
turf, or did he have one after that?
Thibodeau. Nick Foles is looking like he's convulsing on the turf, and Kayvon Thibodeau's doing snow angels.
Doing snow angels. Yeah.
That image probably sums up, as Ryan Kelly described to us, the 2022
Yeah,
Colts
it
season.
probably did. The Giants, I think, made what they made. They were a playoff team that year, if I'm not mistaken. The Colts were done. They gave up in the second
beat
half.
the
I
Colts
remember
down
that
game.
Yeah,
The Giants should put an in memoriam chalk outline there to honor him all season long.
No, probably make that turf better than it already is.
Oh, goodness, it is bad turf. No one got injured, I didn't see last night. All right, we'll take a break. There's your morning check down. Who are the untouchables on Sunday for the Colts and Broncos? Who do you not want to see out there? Kind of a flip-flop of who do you want to see out there. We've talked a lot about that. So we'll dive into that Colts conversation. We'll do it next here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Who is untouchable for Sunday at 1 o'clock? That is the debate here as we are a little over 48 hours away from the Colts beginning their 2024 preseason. It'll be the Denver Broncos. You want to hear random Denver Broncos?
Yeah.
I think they're the most random roster in the NFL.
This season, you think the Broncos. By the way, the Broncos are favored by 1.5. Whatever that means.
The definition of obscure. I think they might be the least talented roster in the league.
Okay.
Of note, shout out to all of our moms in the area. Zach Wilson on the Broncos roster.
Yeah, you're right.
Won the thundering Audric Estime from Notre Dame.
I remember him. Is that where he ended up? Dude, he was good at Notre Dame.
How about Ben Davis star, the man that played at IU and Purdue, Reese Taylor, playing for the Denver Broncos. And last but not least, and I was shocked to see this man still in the NFL, let alone giving it a run, Philip Dorsett. That is former Colts first-round pick Philip Dorsett. He had 0 catches, 3 targets last year with the Denver Broncos. That is 31-year-old Philip Dorsett.
All right, so, I mean, Denver doesn't have a lot to look forward to. But, I mean, you'll get a second half of Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, baby.
And like you said,
these two teams do face off in Denver.
All you moms in the area, Zach Wilson, who is, by the way, so he is supposedly engaged, is he not? And then I think the story goes, Zach Wilson's either engaged or he has a girlfriend, but his ex-girlfriend is now engaged to his former college roommate. How about that? And obviously a football player himself, a wide receiver, who Zach Wilson used to throw to.
Does BYU faithful appreciate that?
Hey, listen, I don't know. By the way, Jack next to us is struggling. 2 straight weeks of not having sunglasses. Jack is struggling out here.
Jack, feel
as the
free to
sun's
sit in this chair, man.
You can move sides if you want. I just feel bad, like he couldn't find his sunglasses.
Recent college graduate, and like my eyes will defy. I used to be with Jack. I used to believe that I don't need the sunglasses.
Don't they have free sunglasses given out at like the small businesses around the corner, like where they give out the food and stuff?
That's even a better. Yes, you can go get sunglasses.
You would think some Westfield bank would be handing out.
Yeah, there's a bank or something handing out some free swag.
They're cheap plastic ones, but they get the job done.
Some sunglasses. Here, thank you to Jack. So
who's
last couple of weeks
who's a no-go
setting us up
for
here.
you besides Jonathan Taylor? Who's a no-go?
Setting us up at Colts camp. We appreciate.
We do.
That.
We love you.
I put DeForest Buckner on that list. You know, the offensive line, I don't think you put on that list. I mean, don't you want Anthony Richardson playing behind his starters?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's to me.
You want Anthony Richardson behind second teamers?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Jonathan Taylor, him not playing, I think you can still get a good look at your offense and the running game, and Anthony Richardson can feel warm and fuzzy inside that he has his offense with him. Jonathan Taylor would be the one. I think Buckner has proven, has he not, that he doesn't need preseason. I think those are probably the only two. I mean, you got to play. Like you could say, well, you guys 2-3 weeks ago did most indispensable players, and you guys both had Julian Blackmon high on the list. But I'm like, listen, if they're going to try out different combinations, if they are having a tryout at that other safety position, to me, you need to see those guys up next at least a little bit with Julian Blackmon.
Yeah, I
Do
might
you not
actually sit Blackmon.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a ton of like safety to safety communication that's monumental.
Do you think they will? Because I'm not sure they will. I think Blackmon will be out there.
Yeah, Zaire Franklin was another name that I thought about there. Again, last year in the preseason opener, they did play their defensive starters 2 series. The defense played very well. Now, Buffalo didn't play their starters, so that probably played a little bit into that. But it was not a very short stay for the defense, or was it a very short stay, I should say, for the defense out on the field. But, again, offensive line-wise, I think those guys should play with Richardson. And, we'll have Joe Wrights, who will be on the radio call coming up here on Sunday with Matt Taylor. We'll have him on the show Monday to recap the game. And, he's always been one that says, offensive line-wise, as much as, maybe you don't want to say it, you need to spar. You need to get in there and have something of note here in the preseason. I go back to a couple of preseasons ago where the Colts offensive line really struggled in the opener in Buffalo, and that was a precursor for what we saw all year long. So, last year when you look at the preseason opener, they played all 29 snaps with Richardson. And we're talking Ryan Kelly. We're talking Quentin Nelson. So that will be something I think to note here coming up on Sunday. But yeah, on that untouchable list, I'd probably put Taylor. I'd probably put Buckner. And you could talk me into like the Julian Blackmon, Kenny Moores of the world.
Kenny Moore, you could talk. I think I could see Kenny Moore sitting actually maybe more so than even Blackmon. Let me ask you this. Looking at last night's games, and again, I know it's Patriots, Carolina, not good teams, Giants and Lions. Lions a good team, Giants not a good team. So you're dealing really with looking at what the Lions did, given that 3 out of the 4 teams that played weren't very good last night. You didn't see starters last night, KB, like much at all.
Which is surprising that you had 2 first-year head coaches in Jerron Mayo and Dave Canales not play their starters.
Yes. Now, I think it is surprising that maybe you didn't see a guy like Bryce Young. But, I know looking down, knowing who starters are on some of these teams, right, especially the Giants, obviously, and I'm looking down, and even like the tackles that are being made on the defensive side, there's a few starters that played for the Giants. I would look at Neighbors played a little bit as well. I would say maybe 7-8 guys looking at the Giants roster. Obviously, no quarterbacks. Why would the Colts be different? I mean, that's my question. I mean, what if Shane Steichen comes out today at 11:15 after practice and he says, I think our plan is going to be, KB, and not speaking directly to you, of course, I think our plan is going to be we're going to play a few select starters, not many, not Anthony Richardson in game 1. Then we'll have the scrimmages, which, all the starters will be involved in. They won't play in game 2. That's the norm in the NFL. It's what the Colts did last year. And then in preseason game 3, there's a good chance someone like AR and some of those guys play up to a half. It looks like other teams are doing that in the NFL. What if the Colts say that today, and what would make them any different, I guess?
Well, I would first off say, why would you listen to what the Giants are doing?
Well, what about the Lions?
Well, look at Kansas City and Buffalo. They're playing their starters a full quarter. Kansas City and Buffalo, you'd call them the class of the AFC over the last, handful of years, really, especially Kansas City, certainly. So, yeah, I don't think that mindset needs to be adopted necessarily.
But it's a mixed mindset. Aaron Rodgers isn't playing.
Very mixed.
I'm saying that the NFL seems very split on this. If Josh Allen will play a quarter, and
Patrick Mahomes is playing a quarter.
and other starters
very mixed,
play absolutely, will play absolutely none.
I think you got to live in your own
preseason.
bubble, and the Colts bubble has been you haven't won a season opener in 11 years.
Well, and Anthony Richardson's played 17 games
since high school. And your hardest game of the season, or your biggest game of the season, is probably the better way to put it, is sitting there week 1. So for all those reasons, I think the starters should play. And if you want to map out that schedule like you just did, if you don't play your starters, you're looking at a week and a half of time in August where your starters participate 2 days over a week and a half period. Just those joint practices with Arizona. Today will be a light, hour session.
Right.
A lighter hour session is probably the better way to put it. So theoretically, it would be nothing Saturday, nothing Sunday, nothing Monday, nothing Tuesday, joint practice Wednesday, Thursday, nothing Friday. You just said you won't play your starters next Saturday against Arizona. Nothing Saturday, nothing Sunday. Monday, I don't think they'll do much Monday. And then a week from Tuesday, they'll go to Cincinnati for that joint practice. So, again, in a week and a half period, you're talking about just 2 joint sessions as the only work in the middle of August. Yeah, that's not I don't think that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, I don't think he'll say that. I would be interested in how many I guess here's what I don't know the answer to. I agree with you. I am surprised that the NFL is so split on this, but I also wonder, and I don't know the answer, I feel like the majority of Colts fans agree with us, but there's no way for me to truly find out if that's the case because
now Jeff points out here Giants and Lions did have joint practices, so does that play into it?
Could be. They had their joint practices earlier.
Didn't
it could
they fight each other a bunch?
Yeah, they got fined a whopping $200,000 each. That'll show them.
Well, that is a big amount just for the 83rd guy on the roster starting a fight.
All they did, I think it was the teams that got fined $200K.
Well, right.
It wasn't Tyrone Tracy's as first name, who's pretty good last night.
Shout out to the Hawks at Decatur Central.
Former Purdue player. I agree with that texter. I wonder if that now changes up. I think I don't know. I mean, Jared Goff probably doesn't feel like he needs preseason. Dude's been in the NFL, right? He has went to Super Bowls and stuff like that. Again, I know Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. I think the Giants are in a situation with Daniel Jones. They're not playing him. I mean, you could say, why did Jacoby Brissett not get out there? I don't know if Brissett needs the first preseason game to go 11 of 22 in his first game. I'm hoping to see Anthony Richardson. I am. I mean, I don't mind saying it. He needs to play. I guess what I'm strongest about, if you hate preseason football, and I get it, I still think with a guy like AR, he's got to play football. And whenever you can get him reps against somebody that's not a controlled environment within, facing off against your own team, I think you have to do it.
Brant reached out and asked us, and again, this is our final show.
Okay.
Brant, yep, shout out to Brant. This is our final show here from Grand Park as it's day 10 of 12 for the Colts. Again, the last morning practice of camp. Brant has reached out and said, what was your guys' favorite player interview from camp? So if I've jotted all these down, Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Michael Pittman Jr., Ryan Kelly, Laiatu Latu, Jelani Woods, E.J. Speed, maybe
a rough one, man.
Juju Brent's coming a little bit later today.
That's
for
a rough
us.
one, man.
But if you had to give your favorite, I cannot single one out. I will cop out, Brant.
Okay.
But I have several that I would list.
Boy, I tell you what, I think Ryan Kelly was our best interview, was he not? Now, listen, Pittman was great. He had some coach speak, but he did talk about his farm and killing weeds.
Oh, I thought Pittman was really good.
A.D. Mitchell was very good because he's cocky, and even like before the interview, he was just like cracking jokes and being funny, and I like his personality. Josh Downs, I thought, gave us the best football stuff and gave us the best story, being injured last year before that Patriots game. The knee, of course, then a week and a half later, he went down with yet another knee injury. But I don't know. I mean, Ryan Kelly was pretty good. He dropped 2 S-bombs, and he told us about his most vulnerable moments on the air. I don't know. It's tough to beat that.
Feedback-wise, probably Kelly is the answer. So I guess I will maybe single one out now that I think about it out loud. But let's go with Olympic style. I think you could find some pretty accomplished silver and bronze medalists there.
Yes, you could.
I love Pittman. Latu's energy was infectious. I wish we could have kept him longer. I'm surprised you didn't go with your boy, E.J. Speed.
No, E.J. Speed was very good.
That's your favorite player.
I know. He was very good. He was good. He was controlled. He was tired. He was after practice,
By the way, coming up Sunday after the Colts game, they're going to have a girls' high school flag football game on the Lucas Oil Stadium turf.
Oh, are they really? Okay.
Now, this game, it sounds like a 1962 state final game. You've got Crispus Attucks against South Bend Riley on the field there.
And they had to go through a competition, I would imagine, to get to this point?
If I saw correctly, I think there's 27 girl flag football high school teams now in the state of Indiana. Now, will that game be more competitive than the Colts and Broncos?
Well, it might be by the time we get to the fourth quarter. Yeah, the games can get a little like, who's out there? Wait a minute, who's out there? Those games last night were ugly.
I got to give a hat tip to Embiid yesterday. As much as I hate to say it, I've been rooting against him for so much of these Olympics.
Bend the knee.
And boy, there were moments yesterday where I'm cussing him out, not grabbing offensive rebounds, but that dude is so talented offensively. I mean, he hit some big shots. I mean, obviously, the 3 old dudes were incredible. I mean, Durant.
They had
Steph,
to save us. They had to.
LeBron, absolutely incredible. And again, I'm a sucker for it, but I loved seeing all their emotion. I love that. Like, I mean, this means something to them. And, if you're LeBron, you don't have to do this. LeBron could easily chalk it up to, like, I've played 20 years in the league.
No, most guys don't do this.
I'm good.
Right.
Like, I don't need to go over there.
That's been the story.
But yet, I mean, and you imagine if you lose this game? I mean, that's just one more on the MJ LeBron, category here.
Well,
and to embrace the moment like they did in the fourth quarter, that is one that I will remember for a long,
I did text a couple buddies who are big LeBron, whatever, not my king. That's what I was texting them in the second quarter, third quarter when we're down.
Premature on that
when we're down 17
Crown
points.
this is what they said to you afterwards.
You're damn right. He'll be on the TV call. His name is Greg Rakestraw. He's coming up next here, 8 o'clock hour next, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
He will be on the call this Sunday, 1 o'clock, Fox 59. I guess one day this week, Andy. What was that, Wednesday? We had all three of
we did,
our TV talents join us.
It was a big day.
That would have been impromptu. Lara Overton to talk Cole Hawker in the 7 o'clock hour. Rick Venturi with his Colts knowledge graced your ears at 8:30. And then all of a sudden, Greg Rakestraw stopped by and chatted with us. Rake, 2 times in 1 week. We are the lucky ones here.
I am a lucky man, but I will start this conversation the same way I did on Wednesday morning. What time's the pop quiz today?
Well, it's great that you mentioned that, Greg.
Friday.
So here's what I was actually going to do. I didn't even tell KB this. I was going to maybe mix in a couple of today's pop quiz questions, and so to see if A,
look at this,
if Greg could get them, which I'm sure he would, but B, if there's a man or woman out there listening to Greg and he gets them right, then they would be able to call in at 9:40 and be able to get those answers.
You know how this is going to go.
And Scotty just sent the pop quiz, by the way.
You know how this is going to go, though. No one is listening at 8:02.
That's probably the point. So I just got the pop quiz. I'm going to look at it, and Greg, I might mix in a question or two. We might do that.
Because I'm going to magically pop in at 9:40 as well. I mean, I'm going to be out there for practice.
Well, fair enough. You know what?
So.
We can wait to 9:40 and do it.
With his tones right now, and he'll grace us with his physical state coming up here in a bit. Greg Rakestraw, ISC Sports Network. And again, he'll be on the call. 1 o'clock with Rick Venturi and Lara Overton coming up on Sunday. Rake, I'll ask the same question that Andy and I have been chatting about in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll get final word from Shane Steichen today on what the starting playing time looks like. If it was up to you, would it look different, offense versus defense?
I thought about that, where in one sense there is a greater need for the offense because of just the lack of snaps that Anthony Richardson had last year versus this defense because it is so largely intact. Now, you want to see some run for Latu, sure. You want to see maybe some work for the guys on the back end, yes. But do I need to see DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart? No. Do you see Kwity Paye? Not really. I know exactly what I've got with Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed. So I could potentially see that, going in different directions. But if Shane feels he wants to see both for the span of a series or two, I got absolutely zero problem with that.
Greg Rakestraw joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Josh Downs goes down the other day, high ankle sprain. We talked so much yesterday, Greg, about that, about just Nick Cross, just a silly play in 7-on-7. How big of a deal is that for you? And if he can't play week 1 or week 2, how big of a deal is it then, obviously, if it creeps into the regular season?
Oh, it's a big deal. But, I mean, it's just simply put what every team goes through. Teams have reduced hitting and number of practices to try to prevent this as best they can. But every team deals seemingly with a season-ending injury in camp. Every team deals with a nagging injury that happens in camp. It's just the nature of the sport. I don't think there's anything you can do about it. Downs had looked really good. Obviously, Josh was very solid last year. Your hope is he's ready for week number 1. But if you miss him, it's just part of the game. Name me a football team that goes into any game completely healthy. It just doesn't happen. So it stinks, but it's truly part of the National Football League. And again, the Colts, much as they did, again, it's a different scale. But you lose Samson Ebukam, here's a draft pick just waiting to kind of go into that spot. And if Josh Downs isn't ready for week 1, you have a draft pick, albeit a third-day pick, a guy that can play that position waiting and ready to go.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a good point that Rake makes there. The injury to Downs, for me, if you're going to say, hey, what's the one person that's kind of the ready-made replacement, it's probably more Anthony Gould than it is A.D. Mitchell. I think there's a little confusion on that, but I think from a slot wideout standpoint, that would be the case. Again, Greg Rakestraw is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rake, I'm sure there's an element. You take it one game at a time. You guys will be doing the broadcast Sunday. You'll also be doing the broadcast a week from tomorrow. That'll be Saturday night tonight with the Arizona Cardinals. That is the final broadcast for you guys here in the preseason. It's the final home game for the Colts in the preseason. They'll go to Cincinnati for their final preseason game this year. Do you expect the big guy? You expect Coach Jim Irsay in the booth coming up a week from Saturday? That has kind of been your annual preseason chat with him in the press box.
We are hopeful that is the case. That has not been confirmed yet, but that is the hope that we talk to Jim next Saturday.
Again, that is a 7 o'clock kick, Colts and Cardinals coming up week 2 of 3 in the preseason. Greg Rakestraw is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Shifting gears, Rake, the high school season. We're still a couple weeks away from things unfolding there. I was fascinated reading Kyle Neddenriep. I'm always fascinated reading Kyle Neddenriep stuff, but he had a story the other day where of the last 6 Mr. Footballs in the state, only one, and I believe you talked to this man yesterday, is from a 6A school. That was really surprising to me. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it does. I'm literally trying to spin through my head as to who all has won the award. Obviously, Jack Kaiser in 2018. Carson Steele, who you're referencing, after the 2020 season. Last year would have been Josh Ringer, who was a deserving winner in 2023. The quarterback from Gibson Southern would have been 21 or 22 at this point, correct? Who am I leaving out of the mix? Who am I missing?
I think you're missing my offspring from Andrean.
Oh, Drake, your more athletic cousin, yes, again.
Correct, Drake Bowen, who now I believe will play some for Notre Dame coming up this year. So, yeah, and then, again, you talked to Carson Steele yesterday, and obviously he is the lone 6A rep from Mr. Football. That was it was surprising to me, and then I was reminded this year how loaded, too, the whiteout class is in the state of Indiana in terms of high school football.
It is. But going back to those Mr. Football candidates, there's nobody of that group that I go, that was not a deserving winner. I mean, I get that completely. And even going back to 2018 when there was so much hubbub about Jack winning it, I would keep telling people, I'm like, hey, there's 3 Sunday players in this group. Well, 2 of them already are. The 2 guys that didn't win it, in David Bell and obviously George Karloftis. And I would tell people back then, and again, David Bell was so great in terms of how he handled that. He said, listen, good for Jack Kaiser. I'm happy for him. Congratulations. David was a winner in the way that played out, too. But as I told people, they've now changed the process for this. The fact that George Karloftis was not a finalist was by far the bigger mistake on that front than, say, Jack Kaiser winning over David Bell. So they kind of changed the process of that. But Kevin, it's gotten to the point now where, there's great talent coming from this state every year in terms of a football standpoint. So I look forward to it coming up 2 weeks from now.
Greg Rakestraw with us, Payless Liquors hotline. He'll, of course, have the game on Sunday, Fox 59. Greg, there's so many teams, and I know you have so much knowledge about the high schools here, and especially football, so it's tough to ask, like, a way to preview everything that's getting ready to happen here in the next couple weeks. But, the teams at the top, and you can take it, if you want to go 4A, below, above, whatever, but the teams at the top – are all of those teams basically intact to be great again in the state of Indiana? And then is there a team maybe who wasn't very good last year that you think could pop up and be pretty good this football season?
Well, Cyril, first of all, it's kind of take this from almost like the state championship picture. Because of the reclassification cycle this year and because of the success of teams winning back-to-back, we will have a lot of different state champions this year because 4 of the 6 state winners moved up a class last year. So Snyder bumps up to 6A, East Central bumps up to 5A, Chittard goes to 4. Lutheran and Adams Central, who was the runner-up each of the last 2 years, they both bump up to the 2A classification. So if nothing else, the state finals on Thanksgiving weekend will look significantly different. In terms of the local teams, I tend to just focus on 6A because obviously 6A is so, overwhelmingly populated with teams from central Indiana. And I think this is a year where, Ben Davis was the winner, but Ben Davis had this epic run through the state tournament where games against Brownsburg and all one-possession games. And so Ben Davis was clearly the state champ last year, but it wasn't like they were this dominant team and nobody was close to them. It was very far from it. I think this is going to be a year with a great amount of parity. Ben Davis, they brought back Mark Zachary and Isaiah Rodgers and their top running back and Isaiah White defensively, who's getting, made college look, that they're still going to be good. They're not as deep as they were last year, but they're still going to be good. Cathedral has now established themselves as clearly a 6A program, but they have to replace the best quarterback in program history, and Danny O'Neill's not at San Diego State. Can they do that? That's the big question I think that the Irish have. As far as a team that was off the radar last year, Warren Central was loaded on both offensive and defensive lines. They just didn't have seemingly the right guy at quarterback. Well, they've got a new one that's a move-in that is going to be a pretty talented player. I think Warren goes back to the top. I've yet to mention who's your Crossroads Conference team. HSE was very close a couple of years ago to making a state championship game. I think they potentially have a chance to get, from the north into the state title game. Carmel, by all accounts, had a down year by their standards last year, finishing 5-5. They should be a lot better. So I think this is going to be a year in 6A. I don't think there's a dominant team this year. I think it's any one of multiple teams from Central Indiana, which means that October and November should be really fun and really good.
All right, Rake, your first pop quiz question. Free agent quarterback Joe Flacco signed with the Colts during the offseason. Including Flacco, how many quarterbacks who started and won Super Bowls joined the Colts as active players following their Super Bowl win?
Oh, wow. Wow.
2, 3, 4, or 5? Mark, if you want to, you can maybe cue up the music.
That's a good one.
Oh, he's just assuming Rake's going to get it right.
Assumes I'm going to get it right.
Sorry, I was listening to audio for Andy.
Sorry. Indianapolis, since they came to Baltimore, is there any sort of time frame with this?
There's no time frame listed.
Okay, it's 2. Give me the other multiple choice answers.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Again, how many quarterbacks, including Flacco, who started and won Super Bowls, joined the Colts as active players following their Super Bowl win? We have mentioned one of the other
Nick
names.
Foles is the obvious of the modern as these are Bulls.
Foles and Flacco,
this,
yes.
Mark Rippon briefly played for the Indianapolis Colts. I think took us 2001. That's one I can remember. I'm going to say the answer is 3.
Mark, cue it up. Cue it up.
He got it.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man.
Just talked his way right through it.
Right into Mark Rippon.
Rake, you're incredible. You are
was.
Steph Curry against Serbia.
Damn
that
right.
was incredible. Rake, I've got one more for you, and this is really off the wall, but I thought to myself, you know what? If anyone might have an ounce of knowledge into this, it might be Greg Rakestraw. Earlier this week, I think I said to Andy and Mark, I don't know how I even came across it, but I found some reported live golf schedule for the 2025 year, and they have Indianapolis, Indiana, and Sagamore listed on this live golf rumor here for the month of August. Rake, have you heard anything? Are you up to date on your live golf rumors of Indianapolis potentially hosting, and I guess it'd be more like Noblesville hosting at Sagamore coming up next August?
I have not heard this. But let's face it, if I'm the folks at the Live Golf Tour, I'm going, where in the States can I go? They don't have a current event. What are the major markets that you can play and that you have a chance to, again, be the biggest show in town? They played Nashville earlier this year, and that is, again, a market without a PGA Tour stop. We were talking about this yesterday when I was filling in for JMB. If there's something on the list you would check in terms of things we don't have here, the major golf events on a regular basis, and to be blunt, because you're not drawing PGA Tour level crowds, you don't have to worry about kind of the extra space and room that you might need at, say, a Brickyard or at, say, a Crooked Stick, and obviously Crooked Stick is going through a course rebuild right now, too. So I have not heard a word, but it would make a lot of sense. So now it's time to do some digging, time to do some research. Could I see that being a possibility? Absolutely, I could.
I know. I've always been curious, too, Brickyard-wise, what will that golf course – what's the goal for Roger Penske with that course down the road, like tournament-wise? You know, we've seen senior tour stuff. We've seen LPGA stuff. Is there any desire there on that? And do you want one more pop quiz question, Rick?
Sure, absolutely. Fire away.
All right. How many quarterbacks who started and lost Super Bowls have joined the Colts as active players following their Super Bowl loss? So we just did the wins.
That's murder.
Now we're going to reverse it here from Scotty J and go with after losses. Super Bowl losses, same exact answers. 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Okay. Matt Ryan would
If you
obviously
get this,
be
I will
one.
carry you to your location here at Colts practice whenever you show up.
I know the silence is wonderful radio. As I think I
Talk
need to go
us
to
through
game
it, Ray.
promoting
Show
box
us your
for my
work.
answers.
Let us inside that brain of yours. It's magical.
Right. I'm literally flipping the mental Rolodex pages in my mind, thinking of veteran backups and things of that nature that have come through here. Oh, man. So we haven't had that many veteran backups over the years.
I would love to give a hint, Rick, but you're just too damn smart. I can't. I mean, I know it's in you, so I believe in you. I sound like, I guess, practicing, pump-up speeches for my kids.
You sound like Steve Kerr in the fourth quarter. I believe in you guys.
Yeah, Steph Curry, shoot more.
Come on, Kevin Durant.
Shoot more. LeBron pass really well.
I'm going to go with, for the sake of not killing your segment completely, since I can't think of anybody else other than Matt Ryan, and the minimum number is 2, I'm going to go with an answer of 2.
Mark?
No, Scotty stumped him.
Scotty got Rake. He's human. Unbelievable. At
What are the
first, I
other
thought
names?
you were like, we're going to have to test you for doping like we do the Chinese swimmers here. But Matt Ryan, correct. How about one Matt Hasselbeck? And how about,
of course, yes. Starting with the Seattle Seahawks, yes.
How about a man that got quite a lot of return on his investment personally because he didn't play too much, Kerry Collins.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
We have Matt Ryan.
My therapist had blocked that from my mind. Yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you.
Rake, we love you. We'll
Appreciate
see you
it,
in
Rake.
over an hour.
See you guys.
That is the one and only Greg Rakestraw. I thought he was going to get that.
I thought he was going to get it, too.
I thought Hasselbeck would be.
I feel bad. Scotty's happy right now back at the office.
Oh, hell yeah.
He just did a fist pump like I did when Kevin Durant hit that 18-footer against Serbia yesterday.
Scotty's conniving.
Basically what
100%.
happened.
He
That's
wanted
a
Rake
tough
to
one.
fail.
That's a tough one.
There's no
That's
chance
a
I would
tough
have got
one.
Kerry Collins.
No. Kerry Collins, Super Bowl participant, Kerry Collins.
Who beat the Giants in that Super Bowl?
Oh, that was the 2000 Ravens. That was Ray Lewis.
That was just dominant.
Yeah. The Giants scored on a kickoff return. That's how they scored. They didn't drive the ball 85 yards on Ray Lewis and that badass defense. No,
practice
they did do that.
fields getting set up here. Colt City getting set up here. 9 a.m. gates open, I should say. 10 a.m. start time for practice. Again, an hour-long session as this is the final morning practice, the final Colts versus Colts practice here of the 2024 training camp.
I said now, last year we just had our son, and so Mason was a little bit too small. But this year, and I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do this, and I've also not told my wife this at all. Okay,
is she listening?
Well, no. Yeah, is she listening? No. We're gonna try to go Friday night football game every.
Oh, let's go!
We're gonna try to string together going to some Friday night games. I want to hit all the way maybe up Carmel, Westfield, then hit some more inner city ones.
Right in your own backyard, you got Dub C, baby.
I know, baby. Yeah, we're doing it. We're gonna try to go to Friday night games. I mean, the game starts at 6:30, 7 o'clock. You're out of there by 9 o'clock.
Get some popcorn.
Get some popcorn.
Hit up the band.
Yeah,
you'll be throwing T-shirts into the student section.
I'm gonna arrive in a helicopter like a TV guy.
Dave Calabra's going to bring you along for his final year of Operation Football.
I'd love to do that. Kirby Smart will fly in. Maybe Brian
Warren's
Kelly will fly
in. Did that kid commit anywhere? Damian Shanklin, the D-end? I could have sworn.
I do not know.
For some reason, I could have sworn LSU was popping into my head here.
Oh man, I'd love to see my guy Brian Kelly fly in.
Yeah, he did.
Him and his family.
Yeah, offers Alabama, Tennessee, Ohio State.
Those are pretty good.
Committed to LSU. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, 49th in the nation.
A top 50. I mean, it's tough being a top 50 kid in the nation. So I'm going to do that. Can I give you a couple other football items before we go to a check down here?
I'm all ears.
All right. Number one. Jerry Jones came out yesterday and said, I'm in no hurry to sign CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb retweeted it LOL yesterday.
I love it. I love the Cowboys.
That's just a perfect thing. But that had to fuel, and Mark, you have it on. I'm sure that has fueled ESPN today. But besides
I've got the Olympics on.
Yeah, okay, well, but like Team USA and the Cowboys and Jerry Jones doing something, that is content gold. So that's number one. Number two, did you see, and I don't know if this is a threat or if it's actually going to happen, and I understand it, but I'm also bothered by it. The Cleveland Browns are looking to move away from downtown Cleveland.
Oh, I did
to
see
a
this.
2.4
Indoor, right?
Yeah, to a $2.4 billion stadium in the suburbs, about 15, 20 minutes away from downtown. Number one, I don't love that. Number two, it's going to be a dome. And I get it. They look at Indianapolis, right? Look at what Lucas Oil has provided. But can you imagine not watching the Cleveland Browns when it's spitting snow in Cleveland? What are we doing? Come
Honestly,
on.
they should open up a section just for the dog pounds so they can be outdoors.
So they can be outdoors. Yeah. Like, I get it. You can host everything in a dome. You can host nothing in a regular stadium other than, summer concerts with Katy Perry.
I think we've now seen this in the NBA, actually. Steve Ballmer and the Clippers. And then I thought I saw a headline that the Titans are going to do this. The Titans are going to have a bit like of a student section, like a crazed fan section. See this?
Are the Titans going to be able to fill that section? Well, that's the joke, but
that is a fair debate. That kind of makes sense for me.
What? What do you mean, like in Cleveland?
Well, I would say NFL fan bases in general.
Yeah,
the Pacers have like Turner's Block.
Sure.
I don't. It's not like Turner's Block. They're painting their chest and jumping up and down every play down the floor, like the Cameron Crazies, something like that. But when I think of the dog pound or the black hole,
that's a good idea.
Some of these fan bases, why not one section of the old end zone?
Okay. So Lucas Oil needs to do that then.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, the problem with that always is if you put that too close, then you're taking away from prime seating.
Well, as long as they're paying.
Well, I know. I mean, don't you have to think, though, it's going to be younger people? I guess not. In the NFL, 55-year-old guys paint their chest.
You always have the fights of, I'm not standing up till it's third down. Well, get those people in one section.
Get those people out of the way. I'm good with that. I have no problem with that. I'm good. Let's go. I doubt that will happen. I love that the Clippers are the team, dude. The Clippers and who else did you say?
Clippers and Titans. They don't scream like diehard sports fans.
They lead the way. And my final NFL nugget, and others might be in the same boat. Guys, you need to check your email. Mark, I don't know if you did this last year. Monday, for me at least, YouTube TV takes the money out for NFL Sunday Ticket. It's a big weekend in the Sweeney household.
Yeah, my last payment came out like a week and a half ago, so I'm all paid up. I'm ready to roll.
So you're paid up and ready to go.
Nikki to see?
Yeah, that might be one I put on the old personal credit card on that one. Yeah. So I don't know. Just some NFL nuggets before we get to a check down.
Voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, going to join us live here at Colts camp coming up at 9 o'clock. But as Andy said, it was quite the historic night across the pond. Let's go there to lead off a morning check down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Down by as many as 17, down 11 at halftime. Team USA, they did come back 95-91. That's your final. The story, the old guy saving us again. LeBron James with a triple-double. Steph Curry, fantastic, 36 points, 8 rebounds, a couple assists for Curry. And here's head coach Steve Kerr after that great game on his team and on his point guard.
Always comes up big when he's needed the most. But it was the competitive spirit of the whole group that really stood out to me. And we needed everything because Serbia played, I thought, the perfect game. They were amazing. And we had just enough time to make the comeback and catch them at the end. But our guys were incredible. LeBron and Kevin and book with his defense down the stretch, and Joel, the way he battled Jokic and made those big plays in the fourth quarter. What an incredible effort from our group.
Yeah, it really was. I should have mentioned Joel Embiid, 19 points in the win. He was finally fantastic there. Team USA will now meet up with France in the final Saturday, 3:30.
The best players in the world busting their ass and showing emotion you would see over here at the Mill in Sectional 8. Like that's what I love about that comeback yesterday. And boy, Steve Kerr, I'm glad he didn't read Twitter because, boy, if he would have seen the mentions there, they wanted him in that river with an ankle bracelet on.
I love how everyone makes fun of Jason Tatum. Then yesterday in the second half, it's like he's got to put Jason Tatum. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys hated Jason Tatum and made fun of Jason Tatum. Now you want him.
Anthony Edwards was terrible yesterday. So
he really was.
There was a moment there I thought, you know what, is Tatum about to get in here? But, yes, like you said, 95-91, unbelievable comeback. Certainly a game I will never forget. And now the gold medal, 3:30 coming up tomorrow. You want to talk about atmospheres? That place will be, do the kids say lit?
Lit.
In all caps?
They'll whistle at us, right? They do that. We don't do that. We boo. They whistle at Embiid.
At Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
13.5-point favorite, the United States. The bronze medal game's at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Can you imagine if the U.S. was playing at 5 a.m. tomorrow against Germany?
Yeah, I would not be watching. I mean, they stared national embarrassment in the face yesterday.
Global embarrassment.
Global embarrassment. And they rose above it. Good for them.
Unbelievable effort there. All right, our Olympic updates here as we really put a bow tie on things in Paris coming up this weekend. On the track yesterday, Noah Lyles finishing third, winning the bronze. Not something I think a lot of people thought. He claimed he had COVID after the race. Sounds like Jake Query foregoing the St. Elmo shrimp eating contest back 3 years ago. 15 medals yesterday in track and field. We won 8 of them.
Wow.
That hurdler, Sydney, is incredible.
She's awesome.
In the 400-meter.
Yeah.
Grant Holloway dominant in the 110-meter. We have been tremendous in track and field. 4x100s, I believe, coming up today. I always enjoy the relays, so that'll be something to note. On the team front, you've got U.S. women's soccer going for gold tomorrow. U.S. women's volleyball wins a 5-set thriller over Brazil to advance the gold medal match.
And Brazil was talking to us. Their coach, their team, they were yapping.
They were talking. They've got some girls that can jump out of the gym on that team. 7 a.m. Sunday, that will be the gold medal match for the U.S. women. What else am I missing? U.S. women's basketball, I guess, semifinal today. That'll be Australia. I believe it's an 11:30 tip for that one.
So there's your Olympic update. A lot of good stuff. Cannot wait for that game on Sunday. Just a couple other items. Reds winners 10-4 over the Marlins. They
we
won
might
3.
Sneak into the wild card.
There you go. Tampa over SoCal.
Kevin,
over
are you
St.
drinking
Louis,
already
6-4.
this morning?
We might sneak into the wild card.
What's in the thermos? Indianapolis.
Marty, look at those standings for me. I haven't looked at the standings all year.
Man, that's a great point. Let me look at them.
Look them up. How far are the Reds?
I haven't looked at the baseball standings in the NL in probably 3 months.
The White Sox
honest.
fired their manager?
The Reds are last in the Central.
Whoa, no, I'm talking wild card.
They're still last in the Central.
I'm talking wild card.
In the NL, they are 4th to last in the NL.
Games back. Let's go. It's a crowded NL.
In the wild card, they're 5 back.
Here we go.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams technically ahead of them. 5 teams.
You win 8 of 10, and you're right there.
Well, they're all in the Central. The Cardinals, Pirates, and Cubs are
good.
Three of the
That means
teams.
we'll have series against them.
So you'll have a lot of series. So there you go.
Tucker Barnhart going to lead the Reds back to the postseason.
He'll get those. He wants those 22 days in the majors, doesn't he?
He
so
does.
bad to get those 10 years of service.
Couple other items of note. We mentioned this earlier in the show. The Crossroads Classic that we were used to having with Indiana, Purdue, Notre Dame, and Butler. Indiana, Notre Dame too soft to play in it anymore. That has now become the Indy Classic. It will be Purdue, Texas A&M in Indy, and it will be Butler, Wisconsin. So this is December 14th. We're still waiting tip times. I think tickets go on sale here in a few weeks. I like that for both those programs. I think those are, quality non-conference opponents.
Those are good games, man.
Purdue, once again, has a very challenging non-conference schedule. Butler goes to Houston in the non-conference, which is an interesting game there. So, again, Matt Painter, Thad Matta, they will be playing at Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up here in mid-December.
Yeah, a couple things on this. So obviously, we'll see Purdue after they lose some guys. They lose Zach Edey. I think A&M will be a team that will be in the top 25 next year.
They were a tournament team last year, right?
Absolutely. And then good for Butler. I mean, Butler's standing up. We're in the Big East. We understand it, but we're not going to have a bunch of nobodies in the non-con. We'll see exactly. Wisconsin lost their backcourt there last year, and it's funny. Indiana dropped out of this series, if you will. And they also, many years ago, declined being in the Champions Classic as well. I mean, if you're an Indiana fan, there's a couple marquee events that you should be the leader of. Instead, you're not in either one.
I don't think Indiana has. they've played that one-off game in Indy lately.
They don't have
Harvard, Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, they don't have one this year.
By the way, Bill chimes in on the YouTube chat. He goes, "You may want to come back to Westfield on August 30th.
Okay.
For you and Andy's high school football tour. You got Carmel Westfield that night.
Okay. Well, I don't think you're going to be doing this. I'm saying, if you want to, that's fine.
Can I not tag along?
You can hang out. It's not too late for little Gas to be out, right? He'll be good.
Carmel Westfield, that's heated.
That a big game?
You've got guys that are probably trying to hit on the other dude's girls on Westfield Carmel. That's a Hamilton County rivalry there. Have we seen Anthony Richardson's little brother out here?
Well, I've seen him a bunch. Is
he a varsity player for Westfield?
I don't know. He's only a sophomore, right? I did say
sophomore wideout. Is that what I heard?
Sophomore wideout, correct. He has been out here. He also has a very deep voice. Just like Anthony. Remember the deep voice. Look how much our engineer here, Jack, is struggling without the sunglasses right now. Brother, you can move over to the other side.
He looks like Bob Costas and Sochi.
He really does.
He's, one eye closed, and man, I feel bad for him. Jack, sit in this chair, man.
Jack, you gotta
Come on,
move. You're struggling.
You're just killing me over here,
Oh, my
Jack.
goodness.
I used to be like Jack. I used to think, who needs sunglasses?
My eyes will adjust after 3 weeks at training camp. Good stuff on the morning check down. You feel better, worse, about the same as you did at the beginning of training camp to now entering the preseason. We'll talk about that and more. Matt Taylor at 9 o'clock. We got you to 10 o'clock. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
This is shaping up to be one of the better weather days of Colts camp. Hour-long practice starting at 10 a.m. See a good amount of fans again lined up. Gates opening up at 9 a.m. If you're coming out, say hi to us. We are done after today at Grand Park. This is our final practice of Colts training camp. Next week, I think J&V will be out here for the night sessions.
Oh, yeah.
6 o'clock start times, Wednesday and Thursday with the Cardinals. And that is it on Colts training camp.
You know, I wanted to ask you this and just kind of throw it out there as a topic. You know, talking to some buddies who are Colts fans, and I don't know the answer. The answer is probably about the same, but you know, we're 9 practices in, or is today 9?
Today's number 10.
So today's number 10. So after today, which will be only an hour, a little bit more of a walkthrough, but let's count it. You know, you have 10 practices, and then things do change. Even though it's preseason games, not regular season games, things do change once you get into kind of like a game week type mode. We know we talked about this. You know, you have some days off, and then it's the scrimmages. Probably won't see any starters in preseason game 2, and then it's the big warm-up, and then you're there. Houston's going to be in town. You know, I got thinking to myself last night, KB, like, do I feel, remembering how I felt like 3 weeks ago, whatever, training camp started when we first started to come out here to Grand Park. How do I feel now, right? Because I've got to see the players up close. We've got to interview guys, talking to Coach Venturi, for instance, yesterday was great. Matt Taylor coming up at 9 o'clock. So picking the brain of people who are also around the team and know a lot about football. You know, do I feel better? Do I feel worse? Do I feel about the same about this team? And it's tricky because, Josh Downs probably or very well could be the MVP of training camp on the offensive side of the ball. He goes down. Now is he just going to miss the preseason? Does that creep into the season? How much is that going to affect him? Losing Samson Ebukam, his 9.5 sacks, his 17, 18 pressures, whatever it was last year, hits on the quarterback. That's a big deal as well. So there are some injury things. I think AR has been AR's been good. He's been good to very good, right? I mean, I think we can see that. I don't need to see Jonathan Taylor at practice. I know he's going to be there. I need him healthy. Week 1, the safety position, you may feel worse. I think you probably do than maybe 3 weeks ago. So do you have a strong take on that? Do you feel better, worse, about the same? I'm probably about the same, but I do trend a little bit more negative because of the safety position and because of 2 injuries, one of which we know will last into the season.
Yeah, that Ebukam injury I think is one that we just won't give enough credence to. And so that one I do think stings. And the Downs one, there's part of me that kind of looks at that and thinks, Chris Ballard says this quite often. And, obviously he will be a part of the decision-making process and when Josh Downs returns to play it is a long season. There are 17 games. If we have worries that Josh Downs could rush it back and then theoretically be battling that sprain and it could linger a little bit, that's not a recipe for 17-game sort of success. Now, again, as I've said many times, look at the schedule. The biggest game of the season is right there in week 1, so that's a difficult nature.
Yeah, and week 2 is not much easier.
When you're trying to balance that. So I'm a little torn on that aspect to it. I don't know if I will hover too much off of my pre-camp thoughts. As much as I do think the Ebukam injury is something to note, I also am reminded out here watching camp, there is a dynamic element that Anthony Richardson does bring to the quarterback position that it's hard to even fully see out here. You'll see a flash or two of it.
Right.
The Colts will open up that playbook just a little when they get into the red zone and they get into some of the short yardage stuff, and there'll be a little razzle-dazzle and there'll be a little kind of Saturday-looking offense to their run game that there's even more of that in there come regular season time. So that aspect to it, again, it's hard to maybe see concretely out here, but there's a glimpse of it. There's a sprinkle of it, and you're just like, there's even more in there. It's just Shane Steichen obviously is not going to, empty it out here in front of, thousands of people.
Yeah, I find it difficult to evaluate Anthony Richardson just because we know his pure passing numbers is not how we're going to evaluate him starting on week 1, right? I mean, it's not. We know he's going to run the ball. We know the threat of him running the ball is going to make things different, easier, whatever it may be for Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. I wonder what fans think on that. I'm probably about the same. If Ebukam wasn't injured and Josh Downs, wasn't injured, and we had a little bit more confidence at the safety position. I mean, right now we don't know if Julian Blackmon's eventually going to end up being strong safety, free safety, and those sorts of things do matter, right? I mean, they do matter in guarding against the pass. But I'm about the same. I will say that, I think the confidence level of this team is pretty high. And I'm interested now going into these preseason games, the guys that we will see as guys that will play in the regular season, how they look and how much they play. And like we mentioned, on Sunday, I want to see Anthony Richardson. I hope Steichen tells us today that AR is going to play.
Voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, going to join us here in about 15, 20 minutes. I'll add one thing that I do feel like falls in the disappointing category here as the Colts wrap up camp at Grand Park. Before camp started, I think we actually had a segment one day of, okay, let's go back to a couple drafts ago and look at the guys that the Colts took early in that 2022 draft. Bernhard Raimann, absolute hit. The other 3, Alec Pierce, Jelani Woods, Nick Cross. I think I posed to you in some way, shape, or form, who do the Colts need the most out of those 3? And again, I think we had heavy debate on what the answer would be. Those 3 names, if you were going to give me offer a letter grade on what you've seen out of those 3, if you group them all together, and again, we can splice them out individually, but if you group them all together, to me, it'd be a below average grade. And I think that is a disappointing element to this camp. Like, you want Nick Cross to take a stranglehold on that starting job, and he has not done that. It wouldn't stun me on Sunday, Andy, to look up in the second half and see Keaton Slovis throwing a ball to Jelani Woods in the preseason opener. Not, necessarily Anthony Richardson or, he could easily be in there with the second unit. But, again, if I were making out a depth chart right now at tight end,
he'd be
I
last.
would not have Woods
he'd be
atop
last.
that. I'd probably put Will Mallory if you're going to really look at,
he's been injured,
those names. But guys
that have been out here, I mean, Jelani's been playing third-string reps.
Yeah, guys of note, he would be down on the depth chart. And, Pierce, I think, has had a fine camp. I don't think it's been anything earth-shattering. So that, to me, is, when you run it back, so much of that is rooted in Richardson. But there's other guys in this team that they obviously have internal belief in that you want to see growth from. We'll chat today after practice with one of those, a guy like Juju Brents. Woods, Pierce, Cross, they fall into that category. You think your young guys are going to develop. That is why you believe in, hey, we're bringing 22 starters back, but at the same time, we also feel like there's guys that are going to take steps forward. Those 3, I don't exit here, jumping up and down and doing cartwheels, on the way out.
No, I think you're spot on. Listen, I remember doing that segment, and we're like, well, who do they need? And then it was not only who do they need to step up out of the group of those 3 names, and, of course, I moved Raimann aside. He's done his job thus far. But, it was who do we actually think, right? Those can be 2 different answers. Who do they need, and who do we think emerges? I guess I thought – I guess I was wrong. I've been on the Jelani Woods probably. I thought Jelani Woods would not be as far down the depth chart as he was or as he is right now. And I don't know if that's, eventually something he can change or not. I didn't expect Alec Pierce to come out and just, again, with this competition with A.D. Mitchell, it's not like if Pierce wins it, and I think ultimately week 1, play 1, we will see Pierce on the field first. Eventually, I think A.D. Mitchell, and it's not like we won't see A.D. play in games even if Alec Pierce is the starter. So with him, I'm about shooting par with Alec Pierce. And I think,
Whoa, is that a golf analogy?
You like that? Well, I have a golfing hat on today. I have a Ryder Cup hat on. My Team USA. We're decked out in Team USA. I would say Nick Cross and just that position not instilling confidence 10 practices in is by far probably the biggest disappointment. Would you agree with that? I mean, that's where we are. You wanted one of those guys to feel like, okay, this guy's won the race, right? We feel like he's done it. And maybe these preseason games go into that.
Well,
maybe we see some of that tonight.
I'm even more confused at free safety than I was at the start of camp. Like, even more confused.
Right.
That's what, is my disappointment.
Yeah.
Mark, will you cue up the sound? I've got the cock up here on the laptop, all right? We've got
Easy
Serbia,
now.
USA.
Phrasing.
Serbia, USA on Peacock. Semifinal, water polo. Hear me out on this.
Is this men's or women's?
Men's.
Okay.
Hear me out, okay? Serbia, USA. I mean, the tense nature after what happened on the hardwood yesterday,
Sure.
just through the roof here in the pool. Serbia's best player or Nikola Jokic in a game to 11 of pool basketball? Who are you taking? Serbia's best water polo player versus Jokic in the pool basketball game to 11.
I'm taking the polo guy. Is that wrong of me? I don't know if Joker can swim. I don't know how he can move in the pool. Maybe he's too big for the pool. I'll take the guy who lives in the pool. I'll take that guy. Is that wrong of me?
How slow Jokic moves on the basketball floor. Can you imagine how slow he'd move in the pool?
Oh, goodness. He did. He blocked LeBron the other night, or yesterday.
Yeah.
He blocked LeBron. I'm like, LeBron, you can't get blocked. I know you're 40, but Jokic doesn't jump. He doesn't get off the ground.
There were two moments in the first half where I thought the U.S. was done. When LeBron got blocked by Jokic, and then when one of those dudes banked in a three.
Yeah, that's
and I'm like,
good.
oh, man, here we go.
Well, and then they put the second unit in, and Derek White and Bam were shooting fadeaway threes from the corner.
And White,
Anthony Edwards stunk, and
White
I'm like,
has
what
the
are we?
4-point play foul.
Derek White had that foul, but he gambled on defense and then allowed a wide open three. And I'm like, if he does that, you might as well put Halliburton in. He can mess up on defense. At least he can help you in the offensive side of the ball.
Boy, I'll tell you what,
on.
the city of Indianapolis, they had the Halliburton tapes
I was ready. I was
go.
ready.
You were ready for him,
I was
weren't you?
ready. I was ready for LeBron's not my king. I was ready to take.
Do you keep those in the drafts for the gold medal game just in case?
Well, there's some buddies that got those texts during the game, so if they wanted to out me, they probably could. Did you see this morning? And this
2-2,
goes back,
by the way, in the pool.
This
US and Serbia.
goes back a couple hours. We got to take a break here. But Kevin Durant woke up this morning ready for violence. He's been tweeting and retweeting random people. People calling him a bum, fans of Serbia, like everyone. Like he's like, I'm over here. I'm in the Olympics. We just won a big game. Probably going to win a gold medal tomorrow. He's tweeting everybody. So good for him.
Well, him and then Joel Embiid has chosen violence.
Yeah. What did he say? I might play for Cameroon in 4 years?
Yeah. I might play in Cameroon in L.A. in 2028.
I'm
going to boo the fans back and tell them to suck it. Didn't he say that?
Yeah, he did.
This morning,
our
Joel
engineer Jack had one during the break. If LeBron would have lost and stuff yesterday, it would have been LeBron's.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
So good. I would have said that at 7:03 this morning.
No,
so
7:03. You would have said at 7:01 in 22 seconds.
I would have stolen that. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 in 10 minutes. Matt Taylor, he joins us top of the 9 o'clock hour. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The great Matt Taylor going to join us here in a few. Football Friday alive and well as we look ahead to Sunday's preseason opener for the Colts, 1 o'clock against the Denver Broncos. Gates about to open here in Westfield. 10 a.m. start time for practice. It'll be an hour-long session today. Again, just 2 left after today. Those are the joint practices against the Arizona Cardinals coming up next Wednesday and Thursday. One Pacers note to pass along to you. Enrique Freeman, their second-round pick out of Akron, he becomes the final two-way contract for the Pacers this season. So him and Tristan Newton, the second-round pick out of UConn, they fall into that category. Quentin Jackson, they're actually going to return from last year's other two-way contract. And then Johnny Furphy will be on the big squad. He'll be on the Pacers team with a normal deal, if you will. So, again, 3 draft picks, Furphy, normal deal. And I guess Freeman and Newton could be playing some games if that Noblesville arena opens up or whenever that Noblesville arena opens up.
That means Oscar Shibwe is gone?
It sounds like that means Oscar Shibwe is gone.
Oh, my man. Poor Oscar Shibwe. Well, it's fun while it lasted, big guy.
It was fun while it lasted. Dakota Mathias, I'm trying to think of some other summer leaguers. Yeah. Lance Jones. Again, I think that's just kind of the assumption here. But, yes, so the Pacers pretty much, we kind of know what their roster looks like here, as now the NBA will enter a very quiet period for the next month or so.
You know, it's a big year for several guys. I mean, we've talked we've talked about Benedict Mathurin. It's a big year for him. Jarris Walker, it could be, we'll see, a big year for him. It's a big year for Isaiah Jackson as well. I mean, they've cleared the way for him to be the backup big there. So I'm interested in that as well with the Pacers. Poor Oscar. We'll see you, buddy. He's just not a 2024 basketball player. He just can't guard the pick and roll, man. He's just not big enough.
You know, it's kind of funny there. Yes, speaking of guarding, I kind of felt like late in that game, the U.S.-Serbia, I'm like, they've got to get Jokic off the floor. Like, it was almost like –
I know.
Even
though he tried.
Embiid, like, had some moments where it was too much. I just thought to myself, Jokic means so much to them. If you can foul him out – and again, it's only 5 fouls.
I know. It's only 5.
In the FIBA game, that would do wonders. But Jokic was able to stay on the floor, and the U.S. was – able to record such a historic comeback.
All right, a man that will be on the radio call of Sunday's game, the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor. What does he make of the matchup with the Broncos, the training camp as a whole? We'll talk with Matt Taylor. We'll do it next. Final hour coming up. Wake Up Call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, fans starting to pour in here to Grand Park. The final practice of training camp beginning at 10 a.m. That is an hour-long session today. Andy Sweeney, if I said 14 and a half snaps for Anthony Richardson on Sunday, where would you go?
14 and a half snaps. I would probably take the under. I'm going, you have 1 3 and out. You only play, a couple different, you only play 2 possessions. That means the other one has to be like a 12-play drive. I don't think it happens. I'd take the under.
29. For him last year.
I remember, yeah.
The preseason opener. Let's head to the man to my left right now, and courtesy of Shelby Materials, the great Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, is with us here. You sold mint and juleps to the Kentucky Derby?
I did, yes.
How the hell did that come up?
Senior year of college. Long story short, every year in college we had like a gear package. You had to buy at that level, Division III peon level, non-scholarship. You had to buy.
And this is football gear for those. Matt Taylor is a decorated football player. No, he's not talking radio gear here.
You had to buy your sweatshirt, your sweatpants, your shorts, your T-shirts. It all cost,
Russell Athletic.
$250, let's say. So our defensive coordinators from New Albany had a connection with a alcohol vendor at the Kentucky Derby. And he said, guys, come down, help us do the Kentucky Derby, sell beer and make mint juleps, and it'll defer your cost for your package. So a group of us go down there, and we're down there Friday for the Oaks, Saturday for the Derby. It is the most tired I've ever been in my entire life. However, it's also the most straight cash I've ever had in my pocket. So did beer on Friday, made mint juleps on Saturday.
You're making them.
Made the mint julep Saturday.
I love it.
Beer is infinitely better than the mint julep station because the beer vendor, you're up and down the grandstands. People are throwing you tips. You're interacting with people. Whereas on Saturday, making mint juleps, you're just buried in the tent all
That's
day.
miserable.
God, that sounds like
hell.
You're rotating stations.
And
right?
honestly, you're built for a lot of jobs in this world. You have the personality and the voice to be a great beer vendor.
Well, what happened was I got there on Friday. I don't know what time the doors opened on Friday, but there was a guy up in the suite level, and they didn't have enough beer, or they didn't have it filled out on their list to get beer.
No, that sounds like hell.
So he was in a suite, no beer, no alcohol. So he flags me down. I go up there. He hands me a $100 bill, and he says, "I want 6 beers," and then he says, "I'll give you a 20 every time you come back." So
that's the way to do it.
Needless to say, I did not tell anyone where I was going, and I just hammered.
I'm going to the bathroom.
Hammered that all
As you
day
should've.
long.
You're damn right.
It was a long walk up there and a long walk back to get more, but man, it was worth it.
He's a smart individual, right here.
But they've
Matt
even
Taylor.
sped this up. It'd be worse now with COVID. They changed it to where the ticket, even like if you're sitting in the normal 200 section, 300 section, your ticket is all you can eat and drink.
Okay.
So now, you're constantly just making the mint julep and throwing them out there for hogs like me to run by and to grab 1 or 2 and then to leave. Yeah.
I don't want to turn people off, but the tradition, Andy, I'm preaching a choir here, but the tradition is my old Kentucky home right before posting of the Kentucky Derby, right? And needless to say, we didn't have enough product. And so we were watering down the product.
You're watering down the product.
Yeah, you're paying $12 for the commemorative cup.
I was going to say,
Scam.
they're only $18 drinks,
This is FIBA. This is
a lot
FIFA,
of H2O.
IOC.
Yeah.
It's a scam.
A lot of ice and a lot of H2O. Not a lot of alcohol for your $12 commemorative cup, but you got to keep it.
Believe what he says at your own mercy. Coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. He is voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor. Joe Wright's with you.
The guy's like, let's go. We need 10 more, 20 more. I'm like, all right, well, we're running out here, so you're going to water it down.
Is Joe Wright's with you all preseason long?
All preseason long, yes, sir.
So
yes,
Joe
sir.
Wright's, Matt Taylor, and Jeffrey Gorman, if I'm not mistaken.
The Gorman.
Coming up.
Gorman for the first 2 games, and then Larry's going to join us for the 3rd game because that 3rd game is a non-local broadcast, TV-wise. It's a
so
Amazon
Venturi
Prime
slides
game.
with you for the 3rd game?
Well, I think Rick's going to sit that one out.
Got it.
Taking care of some stuff back at home. Yeah.
Joe Wrights will be with us on Monday recapping it, and he'll be with Matt Taylor coming up on Sunday. I asked Greg Rickstraw this last hour, if you were Shane Steichen, would offense versus defense differ for you in playing time? Would you put one unit out there longer than the other?
Probably, yeah. I mean, that's what we saw last year. I think what was the offense with 3 series, the defense got 2. I mean, certainly you're not going to see anything from the design running mobility from Anthony Richardson. So I think if the Colts go out there on that first series and they have a nice productive drive, if they're efficient, right, if they get a couple of first downs, if they score, then maybe you see them for another series. But after that, you just want to see guys on both sides of the ball starter wise. You want to see them flash. You want to see them look really good. I mean, that's the most important part of the preseason is that first quarter with your top guys, right? Your guys on the first team or the second team in terms of the depth chart. So you want to see them, you know, if you're an offensive lineman, you want to see them get a push in the running game. If you're Anthony Richardson, high completion percentage, go with the football to the right places, no turnovers, no careless mistakes, no false starts, things like that. So I think it just kind of depends on how you start the game on the first couple of drives and then maybe tail it off if you're satisfied based on what you've seen.
Voice of the Colts with us, Matt Taylor here on the Fan 9 o'clock hour. Got you until 10. What have you learned about this team? You've been at every practice, whether good or bad, you're around the team. You feel like you'll learn something? Is there a thing or two you've learned here in the first 9 practices?
Yeah, I think that this team doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. I mean, there's not a lot of chinks in the armor. I mean, certainly the biggest one that you're identifying and taking a closer look at every day certainly is at the safety position with Julian Blackmon. Where does he play? Is he a strong safety? Is he a free safety? And then who do the Colts pair with him in the back end at whatever position Blackmon is not at? But I'm really actually satisfied with what I've seen. I mean, obviously the Josh Downs injury the other day, that's a little bit concerning just because of the nature of the injury with a high ankle sprain. Hopefully it's a situation where he can come back in time for the regular season opener on September 8th. So you got about a month to go before you get to that. But I've actually been pretty pleased with the young secondary at the corner spots. I think what you want to see there, and again, we talked about it last week, you just want to see those mental errors, those lapses in coverage. The coverage busts not show up nearly as much as maybe they did towards the end of last year, and it was all kind of accentuated with that Week 18 game, the big plays you allowed for touchdowns to Nico Collins and big plays over the top. But Adonai Mitchell's made a couple of plays on that young secondary, but that's going to happen. You can live with that, right? There's great players on every team in the National Football League. You just want to get those mental errors in check, and I think that they are so far based on what I've seen here in camp.
He is voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, again coming up 10 a.m. start time for our coverage.
10 a.m., yes,
on Sunday, and then 1 o'clock kickoff, Colts and Broncos from Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts came out their depth chart earlier this week. I always say this about the depth chart. You can write a good amount of names in Sharpie. Some you might write in pen, others you might write in pencil. The Sharpies are obvious. Quentin Nelsons of the world, the Forrest Buckners of the world, et cetera, et cetera. Pen and pencil, where are we still there? I point to safety with pencil. I probably point to tight end and pencil.
Yep.
The pens maybe like corner I'm starting to do a little bit. I think Juju Brents and Jalen Jones are pretty solid.
Jones is probably a pen.
I think we're pen on the corners probably.
When I say pencil and pen, what is not in Sharpie, okay?
This is totally back to school.
We're back to school, baby.
I love this, yeah.
Ticonderogas and Bic pens. Where are we at?
It's like the old Staples commercial back
Where
in the day.
are we at? Okay.
I think in pencil, you're probably this is going down a little bit on the priority list, which I think is a good thing. But you're probably still in pencil at the swing tackle position.
That's a good one.
With Blake Freeland and Matt Gonzalez. Gonzalez is getting a lot of run position flexibility, guard and tackle, and on the right side, left side.
Last year, you needed about 10 starts.
Yeah.
Swing
Freeland played a lot on the right side, certainly with Braden Smith's injuries, and then had a couple of spot starts with Bernard Ryman missing a game or two, I believe. So that's really important, and I think that one's still ongoing. So as far as the pencil is concerned, the number 2 is getting sharpened.
Mechanical if you want.
Yeah, mechanical. Yeah, the little click. Remember those? Yeah.
Sure.
Those always broke.
Oh,
dude, like halfway through a math test.
They just broke off all the time.
It was like Matt Taylor making a mint julep.
I mean, I had to
Makeshift.
I had to have the reserves just in case I ran out.
Oh yeah.
100%. I mean, come on. Then you don't have the reserves, then you're screwed. Yeah, in the middle of a math test.
Remember those big pink erasers?
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Do you think DN?
My neighbor next to me always got blown with the erasers. I'd go, and it just go all over, all over his test.
Well, the worst is when you had the actual electric sharpener, and you could take out the little bowl of the sharpens. And, oh boy,
the manual sharpener. The little,
try dumping off those clippings.
The wheel that you turned to sharpen the pencil.
Oh, we sound old. Any kid going to school is like,
Trapper
what the hell
keepers,
are these guys
man.
talking about?
Trapper keeper.
I kept it.
100%.
I still have one of my old Trapper keepers.
I had a Trapper keeper.
I found it in the move when we made the move. I'm like, God, I guess I won't throw this away. It's been with me. It's been with me this long. I'm 38, 39 years old. I guess I'll keep it.
DN, do you still look at that as not Dio Dengbo's back in practice? Do you look at that as like a 4-for-2 with Dio and Taekwon Lewis?
That's really good.
What are you paying Laiatu?
That's really good. I was actually thinking about this on the way up here today. One of the guys that I think is, I don't know, winner is probably not the right word, but, it's always a domino effect, right? When you have an injury to Samson Ebukam, it's next man up.
Sure.
And I think the guy that is going to creep into the mindset of Colts fans is number 55, Kevin.
Ooh,
Isaiah Land.
Isaiah Land on
I think
shout out to Florida A&M.
Because every time Chris Ballard seemingly talks to the media, he always finds a way. Don't you notice they say he always finds a way to kind of sneak in an Isaiah Land reference?
It's like Daniel Scott back in the spring.
Yeah. And I think there's something to that. You watch him in one-on-one pass rush moves, guys in the trenches when the offense and defense are doing 7-on-7, the skill players. Isaiah Land is always making a play and just going about his business, and I think he might be, again, winner is not the right word, but someone that benefits up the depth chart to give the Colts some rotation and maybe add some depth if he can make the roster at that defensive end position, because he was with the Cowboys, then picked up by the Colts, and he's always just kind of had moments in practice, and then he got stashed on the practice squad, got brought up from the practice squad, was active for a couple of games last year. Keep an eye on number 55. Go do your research on Isaiah Land if you're a diehard Colts fan.
6th-round pick of the Cowboys last year. The Colts claimed him at cut-down time. And at Florida A&M, he put up some insane
He got a sack last year,
numbers.
I think.
He did have a sack in a game.
Yeah.
But number 55 could be a name Matt Taylor's calling coming up here on Sunday.
Yeah, those are the things you watch, preseason games. It's what they're for. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, with us. Couple more minutes. I want to go back. You mentioned, the Josh Downs injury. It's obvious. We all know, it's a big injury, especially if it lasts into the season. If nothing else, he was probably, MVP of the offensive side of the ball. You could easily make the case that's how good of a camp Downs was having. How much will you watch what they do at that position on Sunday, and any hunch early on? Do you think it is Anthony Gould early on in what Shane Steichen will do?
Yeah, Anthony Gould. I think Ashton Doolin's got some position flexibility to play in the slot as well. Ethan Fernia is there. And it's just going to be next man up across the board, for everybody, because it's one less body playing with the starters. So it's going to be a domino effect for Adonai Mitchell and maybe his snap count. And this is probably more geared towards the regular season if, in fact, Josh Downs has to miss some time, starting on September 8th. What does it do to Alec Pierce's snap count? Another guy to keep an eye on is DJ Montgomery. DJ Montgomery picked up about this time of year last year for the Colts.
He played last year.
Hey, I know he's more of an outside receiver, but this was a guy that came in right away, got a couple of touchdowns in the preseason, had that really big game in the regular season last year when Michael Pittman was dealing with the concussion. I think that was the Pittsburgh game. Yep. He came in off the bench and really kind of steadied.
Caught that touchdown after he dropped the touchdown.
Right, exactly. So that was a big moment for him. You got Juwan Winfrey. Laquan Treadwell is here, and he was a name, from the past just because of where he was drafted. But I think he's been on 7 different teams in the last 5 years. But he was here at the start of camp, I think day number 1, so he's got some really good familiarity with this offense. But, I think the biggest thing that hypothetically you would miss about Josh Downs is just, I know he's only a second-year player, but the NFL bloodlines are there. A really mature guy. He's got high football IQ, has really good synergy with Anthony Richardson. So not to say that Anthony Gould wouldn't be able to pick that up and grow in that regard, but Josh Downs is like a year 5 player in terms of the mental side of the game.
All right, fourth quarter rolls around on Sunday. Voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, is with us. Joe from Kokomo's on mint julep number 3. I don't even know if you can get those inside of the
have to make them yourself.
You can get pre-made ones now if you go to liquor stores. Of course.
You just got to sneak them into the stadium then?
Well, you mean in the stadium. Oh,
well,
yeah, you're probably not doing that.
But again, he's got his Bartman headset on. He's listening to Matt Taylor. And all of a sudden.
Hey, don't knock the Bartman headset.
No,
I was the Bartman kid,
trust
too.
me, man.
Come
I look
on
down
now.
at the fans in the crowd. I'm like, those are the diehards. God bless them. Without them, we don't have jobs, man.
100%.
God bless them. Give me the fourth quarter nugget. It could be a Colt nugget. It could be a Bronco nugget. You brought up Isaiah Land. I said to Andy earlier, Denver's got one of the more obscure rosters in the NFL. Audric Estime from Notre Dame on their roster. Philip Dorsett. You could go Larice Taylor.
Yep.
Well, Ben Davis, IU Purdue. So whether you go Bronco or you go Colt, give me your obscure fourth quarter nugget that I'm going to be hearing at 3:48 p.m. on Sunday.
Well, you're right, because looking at this Broncos roster, I've done a lot of preseason studying
Show
before.
the YouTube camera that.
I've done a lot of preseason studying before.
Look at that.
Here's the binder. Here's the epic binder, the blue binder.
They have Troy Franklin on the team. Remember the wide receiver from Oregon? We talked a lot about him around draft
But he's buried down on the depth chart.
Oh,
he's like third string.
Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
they got Philip Dorsett.
You're going to get You're going to get Bo Nix talk at some point.
That's right. Exactly
Maybe
right.
fourth quarter.
That's a nice IMS quarter zip. IMS quarter zip with the Augusta hat. That man's doing it right here on this Friday morning.
Outfitted.
I like that.
I like
Swag,
that.
baby.
That might be a mint julep in the drink. Okay, give me the fourth quarter nugget. Give me the fourth quarter nugget.
I think it's got to be Reese Taylor for the Denver Broncos. You know, he's their backup nickel, playing behind Jaquan McMillan. From East Carolina, by the way. I got them all memorized, and it was a hard roster. It took me about 10 days to memorize the Broncos because there are a lot of, non-household names. Let's
you have
put it
to
that
hate
way.
preseason games. You got be honest. You got to hate them.
He can't admit that.
I wouldn't say I hate them.
You got to memorize 90 names.
It's part of the paycheck, KB. What are we doing here?
180, yeah. Jeez.
It is challenging.
No one was happier to see the preseason schedule go from 4 to 3 games.
It's quite challenging.
Matt Taylor.
But Reese Taylor is a former Mr. Football in the state of Indiana, 2017 high school football state champion at Ben Davis, IU and Purdue. Threw for over 4,000 yards in his career at Ben Davis. Played wide receiver, cornerback at IU, then was a return man and added that to his resume at Purdue. Really, really good kid. I've talked to him back in my old high school play-by-play covering those games. I think for the Colts, I think there's some really good stories as well. I mean, not to stroke Jake's ego, but Derek Slyka,
Jake's been all over him.
The wide
Ithaca
receiver,
guy, right?
from Ithaca. He's a great story.
When I think of Ithaca, I think a road trip with Tom Green.
That's exactly what I think of.
This is a guy that he never even played offense. He didn't even play offense in college, and now he's a wide receiver for the Colts.
And he has made some plays.
He's a tryout guy. He was with the team in the spring and got an invite to camp after the tryout, and so happy for him. But, yeah, he was a defensive player at Ithaca. He was an all-region player, I think, at Ithaca's Division III. So he's a really, really talented guy, obviously just full of a lot of athleticism. So guys like that, that's what I'm looking forward to, is just telling their stories. Because for them, we sit here and we think one thing about the preseason, and we kind of talk about it in jest, and I get it. But for these guys, literally,
oh my gosh,
it's huge. Yeah,
it's their freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, it's their livelihood. It's their chance to literally live out a dream. And if it's not with the Colts, it's 31 other teams that are going to be watching that tape, or maybe a guy makes a practice squad and then gets a chance to get paid. I mean, you can make a damn good living on the practice squad.
Yeah.
You make 6 figures.
Hell yeah.
Well over 6 figures on the practice squad. So we shouldn't take it lightly because these guys are definitely needed throughout the course of a season, and they're just trying to continue on their football dreams.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. Last one for me. How much homework have you done on the new kickoff? And I'm sure you have a way in your mind that you're ready to describe this to the radio audience who maybe isn't paying attention to things like we are.
I'm actually really excited about it. And
I am too.
I'm perfectly okay with how it looks and the new formations. And I know a lot of old school traditionalists, the football purists out there are saying, this is stupid. It's too gimmicky. It's from the XFL, and we should look down on that league. It's a developmental league. But now it's a play, because before it was a nothing play. At least things are happening now. I mean, I read a stat where last year, I think the touchback rate was like 82%.
No, it was. It was over 82%. And, KB, you gave this number. You may know. What, the Colts had 9 returns all season? 9 returns.
Which was tied for 9 times. Yeah, that was tied for 31st in the NFL. Talking with Grant Stewart a couple of weeks ago, he kind of joked, like when Isaiah McKenzie would decide to take it out, everybody was like, oh, okay, here we go, like taking everybody by surprise. But it's now an actual play. And so from that standpoint, I'm okay with it. Like the touchback rate was the highest it had been since the merger in 1970. So before it was a go to the bathroom, get a hot dog play. Now something actually happens. You may not see the huge returns because it is kind of a static play from the get-go with guys lined up 5 yards from one another. But I'm okay with it because at least you see action. The safety element is there. You don't have the high-speed collisions anymore. I don't think you're going to see the concussions. But I think the fascinating thing is, how do the Colts, how do every other team, how do they decide to kick it off? Like what type of kick, where on the field do you want to place it?
Where's the strategy?
And who do you have on the field covering it? Are these your –
I think that last part is a big one to watch. Who do you have covering it? Who do you have blocking on it?
And
does that impact the back end of your roster?
100% roster construction, right? Then going into camp, it was like, man, can the Colts afford to keep 5 tight ends? Well, I don't know. Do you want a tight end covering a kick? Do you want your 4th or 5th tight end covering a kickoff, or do you want your, 2nd or 3rd backup linebacker out there covering a kick? So maybe you kind of have to, stock heavy at other positions on defense, knowing that this is a brave new world in the kickoff. So I think it's going to be fun.
Just one more note on that. You mentioned, I think the biggest complaint early on has been you're not going to get those collisions. But my point is, if it's a dead play 82.5% of the time, you're not getting those collisions anyway.
No, literally.
You're not getting any collision.
You kick the ball off, the ball would land 9 yards deep, and you start at the 25-yard line. It was purely ceremonial, right? And so from that standpoint, I'm really excited because it's going to bring life back into the third phase of the game. Yeah. And you are going to get some big plays.
Sure.
Maybe not consistently. I think the field position will be kind of similar, between the 25 and the 30-yard line. But you are going to get some big plays, and I think it's certainly going to look way different weeks 15, 16, 17 than it does weeks 1 through 4 as we evolve with this.
Yeah, and I think one more thing to note on that is, like, obviously when you're running down to cover kickoffs, you'd have a lot of DBs. You'd have a lot of even running backs or like wideouts, and you'd have your fastest linebacker. Now, because it's closer together, do you put more bigger body guys?
You want guys that can tackle, that can shed blocks, that can gain leverage, keep their shoulders square.
It looks a little rugby-like to me.
To me, it's like I think it's like a glorified running play. Yeah. And it's almost like, and I think Rick Venturi put it well the other day. I mean, you guys played Pee Wee football back in the day. Remember the Oklahoma drill where you'd have 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, a running back with the ball, and a linebacker. It's almost like that spread out like 3 or 4 different times across the width of the field. So it's just your guys that are, strong, that can shed blocks, have good leverage. That, I think, is going to be the teams that cover the kicks the best.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, every Friday with us, coming up 10 a.m. Our coverage will begin on Sunday. Him, Joe Wright's Jeffrey Gorman will have you covered here in the preseason. Mayte, congrats on the mint juleps, and thank you.
It was quite a day. 2007, man.
How about that?
A lot of cash in my pocket.
How much cash do you think you walked out of there with?
A couple G's.
You didn't walk out like Wes. You didn't walk out like Wes Welker, did you?
This is way before NIL. All right, this is way before all of that. All right, so can you imagine walking around with a couple of G's in your pocket at a small town like Franklin?
Street Sense won the Kentucky Derby that year.
We got Keystone Light cases for days.
You are
when
a
we get
king.
back on campus.
That's like Michael Scott of Burlington Coat Factory. You are a king, brother.
That is the one and only Matt Taylor. He'll
That's
be on the PA here in about 30 minutes. Thank you, Mayte.
All right, boy.
Matt Taylor with us coming up less than, 40 minutes away from the start of practice. Matt Taylor will be on the PA here. An hour-long session, Colts City alive and well. Probably won't be a huge crowd today with so many kids back into school. But nonetheless, it'll be an hour-long practice for the Colts, again, 10 to 11. And, Andy, next week, I want to say it's 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, and then I think it's 6 to 7:20 on Thursday. Those are the 2 night practices with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, if you come out here, you might see a fight, too, next week. like Zaire Franklin, E.J. Speed, Pittman. Someone's getting into a fight. You saw the Giants and Lions last week. Someone's getting into a fight.
The Colts have largely,
I think,
been on pretty good behavior in their joint practices.
I don't remember much at all last year with Chicago.
Right, and I am curious, does the fact that, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen know each other, does that help out in any way, shape, or form? But when you got 180 dudes filled with a lot of testosterone on these fields. Again,
Gannon and Steichen, the reason Nick Sirianni has a job in Philly. I just figured I would throw that in there. Yeah, I just figured I'd fit that in there.
You hate Sirianni.
Yeah, I do.
Because he's the Eagles head coach?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, his personality. You know why Colts fans hate him? He scolded them. He's done those things, too. He's laughed in my face, basically, for the last 4 years. So him going through it, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I kind of forgot at one point last year they were 10-1.
They were 10-1.
God, they
averaged like 18 under 18 points a game the last month of the season. That's unbelievable. 10-1. Best team in football.
Moore, the offensive coordinator now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
In Philly. All right, coming up in a few, we'll do the pop quiz. Freebie Friday, 317-239-1070 for that. Again, we asked Greg Rakestraw 2 of the 5 questions earlier in the show. We provided those answers. Do you think anyone actually is going to call in who heard that segment?
I think they will try.
That was
I think,
such wishful thinking by you.
And I think people will call in that did hear that. I think usually it's a guy. I think the guy we go
Let's
to.
Get a female to call.
I know. I think the guy that we go to on the phone line will most likely say, "I just started listening to the show 10 minutes ago," because that's what happens like 85% of the time.
Especially on a Friday,
Mark, I'm right. Every time you
100%.
Jim, you'll be the contestant. He's like, guys, I just started listening 8 minutes ago. Sorry.
Oh, what was that?
Is that your impression of Jim?
Didn't catch Rakestraw earlier.
Was that your Jim impression? Was that a good one?
No, it wasn't. Probably not.
I saw a number 11 jersey. I literally thought it was Anthony Gonzalez before I thought Michael Pittman Jr. It shows you how old I'm getting here. All right, let's hit a morning check down before the pop quiz.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
95-91, that's your final. Team USA outlasting Serbia, down by double digits in the fourth quarter, down by as many as 17 in the game. They come all the way back. Steph Curry with 36, triple-double from LeBron, 19 from Joel Embiid. Some timely jumpers there in the fourth quarter from Kevin Durant, and we get the win, and we move on to the gold medal game. Here's Steve Kerr after the game, praising Curry, praising the team as a whole.
Well, the Steve Kerr audio is gone because the ESPN updated their website, and it's gone. So if you want the final call,
it's gone?
we have
Okay,
that.
well,
yeah, it's one of those things where they update the story, and then the video changes, and it's gone forever.
Well, fair enough. He praised Curry for being great, and obviously all the players I mentioned there. 3:30 on Saturday. It will be France and Team USA for the gold medal. And what did you say? 13.5 or 15.5 was that spread early?
13.5 point spread. I've been saying this all morning long. That's a game that I think I will legitimately remember years down the road of just all those guys, that comeback, their emotion. I love Melo courtside. He was barking out orders to the boys. Bogdan Bogdanović was running his mouth to Melo.
He gave him the 3 to the dome.
He did
after he hit one of those. You have to remember, as much as I'm not a Melo fan, Melo's great in Olympic play. One of our best Olympic players of all time.
Easily, yeah. I absolutely loved everything that yesterday was about, and I cannot wait for the atmosphere tomorrow afternoon. Again, tomorrow afternoon, that's an 8:30 tip in France. So that place is going to be rocking on a Saturday night for the gold medal against the home team. All right, Mark, cue up the music. Right now, our Serbians, I should say our Americans, are losing to the Serbians 8-6 in water polo.
Oh, boy,
so
that's not good.
Back for yesterday.
That's not good. How much time's left?
Fourth quarter is underway.
Oh, fourth quarter? Okay.
7.5 minutes.
Come on, guys.
Winner advancing to the gold medal match. All right, other items of note from yesterday in Paris. 15 medals on the line in track and field, and we won 8 of them. Noah Lyles, though, did his best Jake Query impression. I've got COVID. I cannot compete in the St. Elmo shrimp eating contest. I guess credit to Lyles. I guess he still competed. And hell, he still won bronze.
Well, I was about to say, he still medaled. Jake didn't show up.
With the COVID there. No, Mark had to step in, and Mark was our champion there in the old St. Elmo shrimp eating contest from a couple of years ago. U.S. women's soccer, they'll go for gold coming up tomorrow. U.S. women's volleyball, a thrilling 5-set win indoors. Andy Drew's Elkhart, Indiana, Purdue product, a big part of that team. Again, they won in 5 sets over Brazil. I believe they'll take on Italy for the gold medal coming up tomorrow.
A couple other update items we can get to. Major League Baseball, Reds over the Marlins 10-4. 3 out of 4 there. Reds winners this week. Tampa Bay over St. Louis 6-4. Indianapolis Indians fall in Nashville 3-1. Couple games last night in the NFL. Patriots 17-3 over Carolina. No Bryce Young there. Drake May played 1 possession. Joe Milton, the backup quarterback there with the Patriots. Kind of the talk of the town, if you will. You saw him up close last year. Lose by 50 to
horrific.
Georgia when he was at Tennessee. Giants 14-3 over Detroit. One other NFL item, Justin Simmons, who had a 2-day meeting with the Saints, he did leave town yesterday without a deal. Everyone's saying it went well. He did leave the Big Easy, though, with no deal. And like you've mentioned, the Indy Classic doubleheader set for December 14th, college basketball, Purdue, Texas A&M, Butler, and Wisconsin.
And really ashamed to see yesterday Rondale Moore's season come to an end. The Purdue star suffered a season-ending injury in Falcons camp earlier this week. Unfortunately, injuries have been a big story for him in his NFL career. And Nick Foles retiring from the NFL. It is quite the shame that Nick Foles' last game was a game in which the Giants were doing snow angels as Nick Foles got sacked in the Meadowlands.
A mediocre. I remember that just like it was yesterday. The poor Colts defense just was like, we're done, guys. We have Cancun coming up in 4 days. we're out of here. So good stuff there. Nick Foles, Super Bowl champion, though. It kills me. It's why I'll never be able to accept him into my heart. All right, you ready for a Freebie Friday?
Well, I'm sure Nick Foles is a lot of sleep over that.
I'm sure he is. I mean, Foles did release a video on Twitter. I was like, do we need that?
I thought he was already retired. I was like, is this a headline?
Video from Nick Foles?
I thought it was a 2023 headline.
All right, let's take a break. It's a Freebie Friday pop quiz coming up next. 317-239-1070. Load them up. Couple more segments to go here on this Friday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with KB and Andy. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
So earlier in the show, we asked Greg Rakestraw when we had him on 2 of the 5 pop quiz questions. Rake went 1 for 2.
He did. Yeah, I know he got one wrong. He was not happy.
Shocking.
Neither was I.
Shocking. You talk about upsets. I mean, that is literally a 16 over a 1.
He said he still wanted his Jiffy
earlier.
Lube oil change, though. He texted me. He said, do I still get the oil change?
No. It might be freebie for our next guest, but it is not for Greg Rakestraw. It is Freebie Friday, though. Phone lines are loaded. Andy Sweeney, 1 through 8, as we probably will be very disappointed that this person wasn't listening an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, we will be. Let's do caller number 3, Mark. Who do we have? Caller number 3.
I don't think it's the Dwayne that's in Paris calling the basketball games, but we have Dwayne on the line.
What's up, Dwayne?
What's happening?
Dwayne, boy, I'm afraid to ask. Were you listening 90 minutes ago when we had a Greg Rakestraw on?
Surprisingly, I was.
Whoa.
Okay, there we go.
Whoa.
See, I like that. Now I'm rooting for a 5 for 5. Let's go.
We need a rating meter on old Dwayne here. This is big time. All right, well, the Jiffy Lube prize pack is coming your way, but more importantly, 5 for 5 could be coming your way. Andy Sweeney, go ahead and lead off with
All righty, let's go, Dwayne. Question number 1. The U.S. men's Olympic basketball team advanced to the gold medal game with a come-from-behind win yesterday over Serbia. Who was the leading scorer in that game? Was it Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nikola Jokic? The Joker.
Wardell.
Who was it?
Wardell, Steph Curry.
Look at this. Look
Easy
at
enough.
this. This is a start right here. All right, Dwayne, number 2. Colts open up the preseason coming up on Sunday against the Denver Broncos. The 14th preseason game between the Colts and Broncos. I mean, who cares? Who leads the all-time series in the preseason, Dwayne? Colts or Broncos?
Well, how many times the Colts went over in the preseason? I'm going to guess Broncos.
Look at this. Dwayne wasn't born yesterday,
That's
folks.
great analysis.
He was not born yesterday.
It really is.
Dwayne, were you valedictorian back in the day?
No, far from it.
No? Okay. Close. Salutatorian, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably
We're
it.
really doing
question
all-time preseason series wins here.
Hey,
what
listen.
are we doing?
Scotty's world. We're just happy to live in it.
Question number 3. The Colts had 4 players selected to the Pro Bowl at the end of the 2023 season. Gardner Minshew has moved on. That has now left 3 Pro Bowlers from last season on the current roster. Which of the following Colts players was not selected to last season's Pro Bowl? Ryan Kelly, Quinn Nelson, DeForest Buckner, Matt Gay. He was not selected. And this is a big one, Dwayne, because you've heard the other 2 questions. You've heard number 4 and 5 with Greg Rakestraw.
Right.
So this is the biggie right here, number 3. Kelly,
Buckner.
Nelson, Buckner, or Matt Gay?
Let's go. Ooh, wait. Matt
Dwayne,
Gay.
you ain't Googling, are you?
Who
No,
was
absolutely
not
not.
selected
Matt
to
Gay.
the Pro Bowl?
Matt Gay.
Boy, that was a long pause there. It seemed like he wasn't on maybe the 5G Wi-Fi there for a brief second. Interesting.
Think he was on 3G, is that it? Took him a second to
I don't know what
load?
to think of that laugh either. The fact that Gardner Minshew was a Pro Bowler just shows you everything that's wrong with
Oh,
the Pro
I
Bowl.
love it.
Unbelievable. Was he
I
the
love it.
13th alternate?
Boy, I tell you, I mean, we got past 10.
How many quarterbacks said no before old?
No, I mean, we did this segment. It was like 11, wasn't it? I mean, it was several guys.
All right, Dwayne, number 4 here. Joe Flacco signed with the Colts during the offseason. Was Flacco a Pro Bowler last year? Hell, he deserved it more than Minshew. Including Flacco, how many quarterbacks who started and won Super Bowls joined the Colts as active players following their Super Bowl win? 2, 3, 4, or 5?
3.
Look at that. I mean, we
Hey,
might as
he
well
already
not even
knows.
ask the questions.
I will do the last one. How many quarterbacks who started and lost Super Bowls have joined the Colts as active players following their Super Bowl loss? 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Also 3.
Look
There we
at
go.
this. Mark Dykton, cue it up, baby.
It's a winner, baby.
This
It's a Friday
is
winner. It's
a
Football Friday.
winner.
Good job. Kerry Collins, Matt Hasselbeck, Matt Ryan, your answers to that one. Good job.
Dwayne, that's bragging rights, my friend. Great work. We probably appreciate the most that you were listening 90 minutes ago.
No kidding.
More than anything.
He deserves it. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, give him the oil change.
Literally,
Let's go.
I'd give him anything. Unbelievable.
That's E1.
Dwayne, great work on that, and that concludes the pop quiz. Yeah, the Broncos shockingly 7-6 over the Colts all-time preseason series. You know, I know that'll be a big tailgate discussion for fans.
It's good analysis. He's like, how many times does the Colts never win a preseason game? I mean, that's the right analysis. You know, it really is. So
that was a great.
Good job, Dwayne. Congratulations.
A great thought process by Dwayne on that.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. Our final thoughts here out at Graham Park on this Football Friday. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, not only bye to the week, but also bye to our shows at Grand Park. This is it for us. 10 minutes left here on the Wake Up Call. Again, today is the final morning practice of camp. I would consider today probably one of the lighter sessions so far of camp. Hour-long practice, getting ready to start. You can see players in the background behind us here as things are about to get underway from Colts training camp here at Grand Park. And Andy, next week it'll be 2 night sessions. So JMV will have you from 3 to 6 out here, and we will be back in studio.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be sad. 465 was pretty empty this morning on a Friday. I don't think people go into work as much on a Friday. But, no, hey, listen, appreciate, the Colts hooking us up. We've got players out here. We hope to talk to Juju Brents afterwards, after practice today. And that'll, obviously be an interesting conversation. And, for me, today a little bit more of a walkthrough, obviously. And then you get into preseason action. I know practices are still out there. It's not the regular season, but, preseason football, we're getting more and we're getting kind of more real data on the teams. And so I'm interested, afterward, Shane Steichen, what will he say? Will he give us kind of the full game plan on who's going to play and about how much they're going to play? Anthony Richardson, et cetera. So I'm ready. Football's here. And, for Colts fans, I know it's a lot of backups, but, these games do matter in some respects. And we get this baby started on Sunday.
The preseason schedule is really squished, too, when you look at it. They'll go Sunday, preseason opener. Next Saturday, preseason game number 2. And then the preseason finale is August 22nd, I think, if I have my calendar right. 3 games, and, really when you look at it, like not even a 2 full week period here on that end. All right, the man that failed us back in the 8 o'clock hour, he's with us.
Is there a limit to how many times guests can appear on one show?
I'm stunned. I thought you get Hasselbeck. Because I hold you to such a high standard. Let me make this abundant.
He was disappointed.
The synapses in my brain got to Drew Stanton. I'm like, okay, he didn't play, so I got to 2012. I didn't flip a year 4 because the program director in me started to overwhelm the be right. I'm like, okay, I'm killing the pace of this show by just sitting here and thinking and not saying anything. So bail so these guys can get back to it. You guys are amazingly patriotic. Have you talked about this today?
Yes.
Both you guys rocking your USA gear?
We did not plan that in any way either.
You were at the State Fair yesterday filling in for John doing his show yesterday. Did you have access to a television to watch any of that comeback?
I finally succumbed and bought Peacock. The overwhelming reason, the reason I did it actually was the Brickyard 400. Because I could not watch the IndyCar race in Toronto during the pre-race show. So I finally bit the bullet. So now I am that person that has ESPN Plus, Paramount Plus, and Peacock. And, of course, I would also suggest you spend $49 at iscsportsnetwork.com.
There you go.
I think that's a very worthwhile subscription as well. So, yes, literally I am side-eyeing that game the entire time. And God bless the sales staff at the Fan for doing so well recently. I've got 5- and 6-minute breaks. I can actually watch the game. I'm not doing the reads. Those are on tape for John already. So that's when I was really watching the game from 3 until 5 o'clock was during commercial breaks.
Very millennial of you streaming
I
all
like
this. It was wild. I said this yesterday, and for those that have not seen us in the YouTube chat, Andy rocking a USA hat. I'm rocking a USA shirt here on this Friday morning. I think that's a game I'm going to remember for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Just all of them on the same floor together, the 3 old dudes coming together. They're facing embarrassment right in the face. And for Durant and Curry and LeBron to make play after play after play down the stretch, it was pretty special.
Well, and kind of it was on again last night at like 11 o'clock. I did watch it old man style on like USA, I think at 11 o'clock last night, at least part of it, before then, like collapsing and going to bed at 11:30. It wasn't like the USA was playing that poorly. It was Serbia was playing that well.
Steve Kerr did the Villanova-Georgetown analogy after the game.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. And Steve and I are like the only ones old enough to actually get that whole reference too, which is good to see. So the thing that struck me was that in the galaxy of stars, when it gets down to the one guy that you simply clear out and let him go ISO Joe, It's Kevin Durant.
It was.
For as unbelievable as Steph Curry played.
That top of the key jumper, man. That was the shot.
For the role that Joel Embiid played, and again, you can bag on LeBron forever you want. He did have a triple-double in yesterday's
huge
game.
left-handed
Oh,
layup.
no, I mean, LeBron was great.
And so, but it's get out of the way and give KD the ball.
Yep.
That should tell you something.
And Noah Eagle had a very no Eagle call on that, but
he's great. Noah Eagle's fantastic.
He did sauce the Serbian defender to get enough room for that jumper. And I thought fittingly, a game after he set the record for most points in Olympic U.S. history, passing Lisa Leslie, it was Durant. I mean, he really, if you want to just boil it down to the most gifted scorer of our lifetime, it's probably him.
Right.
Complete player, other guys, but just purely score. Him.
KB, you brought up something with that game. I know all three of us watch a lot of, obviously, college basketball, but you mentioned this, and it's just worth talking about here, and that is that game. It is because, an NBA game's 48 minutes. These are 40-minute, games, so there is some more urgency. That had not a 16-1, 15-2, because Serbia has good players, and Joker is a great player.
Correct.
He is a multiple-time MVP player in the league. But that had an NCAA tournament. The team that's favored, the big dog is trailing. The other team's making a bunch of shots. There's the crowd that's involved there. That had at times a big NCAA tournament upset type of game feel.
You're bringing up the Villanova-Georgetown reference from Steve Kerr. I'm sitting here thinking about a college team that was carried by one guy or an NBA team that was carried by one guy. So Jokic and Serbia being in that game is almost like LeBron in Cleveland carrying them to multiple NBA finals, where it's
a lot like it.
It's that guy, and obviously Bogdanovic, as we would say in Indianapolis, the other Bogdanovic, had a fantastic game yesterday. But everybody else, a couple of bit players in the NBA, the rest of the guys that play primarily in Europe. And again, what I think it does is it shows just how it's not just 61 NBA players being in the Olympics. It shows you how much closer the guys that don't play in the NBA are to now an NBA all-star caliber player. The gap is not that wide anymore.
Well, if you want to take the college basketball analogy a step further, I thought about this yesterday. It used to be the U.S. was the number one seed, and the field was a bunch of CBI and NIT teams. Now you're in a real bracket. Like, if you want to make the Serbian equivalent, they had Zach Edey, and they have like 7 seed talent. The U.S. is still the 1 seed.
Sure.
Right.
But Bogdanovic is probably a top 70 player in the NBA.
He averaged 17 points a game for the Hawks.
Yeah.
Sure. He's a good player.
So it's not, and they've got a couple NBA guys that even come off the bench for them. So it's not, it's not 92 where it's, U.S. Angola or, all those games.
Since we're married to the shtick, and I know you got 60 seconds left to go on the show. So here's the analogy for the next game. In this game, the U.S. is Duke and France is Butler, because they're getting to play the championship game on their home floor.
Yeah.
Think about that for Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It'll be raucous. Greg Straw on the call coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock.
Am I done being on the show for today now?
You're done.
All right.
3 times this week,
I'm sorry
baby.
I have disappointed you, KB. My apologies.
Some other thank yous I want to make sure we sneak in here. Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Michael Pittman Jr., Ryan Kelly, Latu, Jelani Woods, E.J. Speed, Juju Brent Slater, Matt Conti from the Colts, their PR staff, Jack Johnston, who's been on site with us pretty much entire camp as well. Andy, it's been fun. A couple weeks up here. I hope everyone has enjoyed it.
Yeah, it has. And we'll talk, hopefully, Juju Brents after the show today. We'll let you hear that. Reminder, coming up on Sunday, 10 a.m., that coverage. 10 a.m., that coverage of the Colts and Broncos. Jake and Jimmy coming your way at noon. JMV at 3. Have a good afternoon right here on The Fan.